What a terrible teammate. Guo Xiaoyun, barely escaping a near-death experience within the game, grabbed her hair in frenzy, wondering what misdeed she had committed to encounter such a cursed roommate. Due to the power outage, I couldn't use gaming as an excuse to sneak into the dormitory and hide there, so I had to while away the time with these boring gossiping girls in the living room. Just a moment ago, we were still discussing the incident of Brother Hua being stabbed, when, while I was on my way to the bathroom, the woman suddenly went off the deep end and actually volunteered herself. My goodness, just a second ago they were smiling so happily. How can someone change their expression so quickly? Firstly, I nearly lost my life in the outdoor monkey pit, and now I'm voluntarily walking into danger, almost leading to the complete annihilation of their dormitory 302. What did I do in a past life to deserve this? Did I steal her man or rice from her family? Why am I so on myself? The more I thought about it, the more I felt wronged, and Xiaoyun was almost in tears from the frustration. Now she can say that she has no one to turn to, and she can only hope that the Lord's task will completely resolve this virus incident, otherwise she won't even be able to return home. Under those circumstances, of course, she couldn't be quarantined along with her roommate. After all, she was a level 1 lifeform transcending humans, though her physique didn't show it. Such a large-scale quarantine would definitely reveal her differences from ordinary people, and by then, she would most likely be captured for human research. Never mind, this is for the best. It will allow me to focus on the game tasks in peace, but after the matter is over, how should I explain myself when I go back? Lord, are you present? Little Cloud intends to inquire about the specific individuals assigned to the task. Intelligence, Lord, you are out. Is there anything I can attend to for you? Xiaoyun, has the selection for this task been made yet? Intelligence, not yet. The first batch of Ronins is expected to successfully transform tonight, but they still need a week of professional Ronin training courses. Another week, huh? Xiaoyun's face turned gloomy instantly. By then, wouldn't my mom and dad be frantic? Intelligence, this mission must be a success at all costs, not just those rangers, but you too must undergo a week of professional training. Xiaoyun hesitated, pointing to herself and asked, what do I need to train? Intelligence, this time, the Lord's departure will not only bring you more professional tutors but also a batch of professional props, such as the star beast eggs needed by the flower spirit, a professional blacksmith's shop and weapon forger, as well as your mecha tutor and basic mecha equipment. Mechas? Xiaoyun's face lit up instantly. Is that true? Intelligence, well, under normal circumstances, even the simplest mecha requires a level 3 spiritual life form to operate. However, your arcane talent is quite high, and you have managed to unlock the level 3 arcane runes. With the empowerment of the runes, you should be able to control it for a short period of time. If you also master the mecha technology, it will give you a certain level of self-protection during this mission. Alright. As soon as Xiaoyun heard about the mech, the fatigue in her mind vanished instantly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She had originally thought she would have to wait for a long time, but to her surprise, she would be able to take the mech on a mission next week, and her heart was instantly filled with fervor, her face brimming with anticipation. This Gundam is about to save the world. A few days ago, after the hidden profession identity of that pile of dung in the fairy zone was revealed, he was boasting all day long in various spaces. Xiaoyun got angry watching him twist and turn, and not only her, but she also felt envious of the daily lives of other races and professions. The elf transformation is so fun to watch. Those green giants have all entered the stage of martial arts training, and they are all excited as if flying. But it's only this group of developers who haven't seen many new gameplay features, and they actually have to deal with mathematics, physics, and chemistry? Causing a group of people to constantly be in a state of complaint. As a developer's big sister, I naturally don't want to see my own lineage's morale so low. Calling on everyone to join her in becoming a happy seems unrealistic. Just as this mech arrives, it's a good opportunity to provide some positive influence, giving them more hope and boosting their morale as well. When it's time to snatch people in the beginner area, you should also have more confidence. The dwindling population of developers is also due for an expansion. Thinking of this ambitious little Cloud, it eagerly asked, when will the Lord return? Intelligence, I don't know. If I get swindled it should be soon, right? Does the Lord often get tricked? Xiaoyun asked curiously. Intelligence, not really. If it weren't for the encounter with the gnomes. Little Cloud, are goblins very cunning at deceiving people? Intelligence, very powerful. Xiaoyun, you're an AI, right? Can't you prevent such things from happening? Intelligence, if intelligence could outsmart goblins, they would have been exterminated long ago. Xiaoyun. CS strongly agrees with what the intelligent being said. There are probably very few people in the universe who haven't been tricked by the goblins. If it weren't for their irreplaceable commercial talent, these ugly creatures would have long been exterminated by the Federation's tribes. I need a professional bronze tribe weapon craftsman, and you fucking send me a panda man? At this moment on Proxima Star, Shiyu Goblin shouted furiously. Do not get excited, my dear lord. The goblin, facing Shiyu's anger, still maintained a smug expression, revealing its set of standard golden teeth as it said, De Bao is different from ordinary panda men. He once followed an old bronze tribe blacksmith and learned many exquisite skills, making him the best blacksmith among panda men. Nonsense, there's no blacksmith in the Pandaren. Shiyu laughed irritably. What's the difference between that and the most powerful mage in Green Titan? You see, that's where you're being narrow-minded. The universe is vast and infinite. Nothing can be said with such certainty. If a panda tribe has produced a god, what's so strange about them producing a blacksmith? Don't give me this. Return the item, or else the Master of Abilities will complain to the Chamber of Commerce about you. Ah lord, you are indeed impatient. The goblin tapped its head and said, you should be well aware yourself that the blacksmiths of the Bronze Clan are highly sought after by the Federation. How could they possibly agree to work for a novice lord? Humph. Shiyu snorted in disapproval and retorted, if you can't recruit an iron worker from the bronze tribe, can't you at least hire a dwarven blacksmith? With pandas coming, why don't you recommend a slime to forge for me? No way. The goblin shook his head and addressed the panda, saying, Dibao, others don't believe you, why don't you show this lord a trick right away? The panda man named Dibao, upon hearing this, gave a foolish smile, alright. Suddenly, to everyone's astonishment, the blacksmith's shop actually started to forge weapons. Siye was momentarily taken aback. That was a bronze tribe exclusive grade 4 fine iron shop. Without mastering a grade 5 or above, even the fire essence cannot be ignited. Could this chubby panda really have mastered the bronze tribe's craft? You see, didn't I tell you the truth? Shiyu. Originally, our lord highly regarded your prospects and specifically instructed us, the lesser ones, to offer you favorable terms when conducting business with you. This was to foster a good relationship. This time, the premium ironmonger shop of the 4th grade, along with the lifelong contract of a blacksmith skilled in bronze craftsmanship, was only charged to you at 5 million divine coins. To be honest, I have never made such a loss-making deal in my life, and yet, I was even disliked by you, your honor. Well, since you do not value it, then we shall return the goods to you. Wait a moment. Shiyu quickly called out to the other party, Lord Roan, please give me a moment to think. Another 5 million gone. Shiyu watched the dwindling amount in her account, her heart growing increasingly uncertain. She hadn't even started repaying her first loan yet. This time, should I have been tricked? Shiyu thought to herself, glancing at the panda man beside her, who was grinning and munching on crispy bamboo shoots. The Star Beast egg, he chose not to purchase from the Immortal Wine Master. He had done his research, and it was known that the Immortal Wine Master's domain excelled in industry, but the reputation for biological trade seemed rather poor. A large-scale negative news had occurred 1,000 years ago, reportedly involving them selling a magical wolf that bit its owner to death. This man who was bitten to death was known to him. His name was Odin, a model graduate from the previous generation of their celestial deity system. He was also a lucky big shot who successfully found a level 7 life planet during his vagabond travels, and his mentor even dragged him to pour a whole afternoon of soul-soothing for these junior and senior students of his. He has always been impressed. That guy was muscular and deliberately dressed as a one-eyed monster, saying it was a mark left by a respected opponent, a glory among warriors. Therefore, he did not choose to have surgery to restore it, and his tone was full of the aura of a big shot. But little did I expect that one day I would be defeated by a wolf dog, and it truly was a grotesque death. Are you looking to purchase a star beast? As she pondered, Siya wandered into a specialized store selling star beasts. Outside, there were an array of star beast cages, filled with a variety of bizarre breeds. Popular ones like the star wolf, phantom tail fox, icefire butterfly, and star cloud sculpture were there, as well as less common ones such as the juvenile beasts of the terror-type mother spider, venom, and giant deep-sea jellyfish. It was evident that this was a very professional biological faction. Thinking of this, the moon asked, "May I inquire, which lord's establishment is this?" Pursuing the source is also a method to ensure product quality, and generally speaking, the big lord, for the sake of reputation, would not tamper with the quality of the product. After all, the market competition is fierce, and once negative news about you is exposed, it can easily lead to the loss of a large number of customers. The storekeeper was a flower spirit girl, which was one of the reasons Shiyu chose to consult her. Dealing with an elf is much more reassuring than dealing with goblins. The beautiful girl, Hualing, smiled warmly upon hearing the question, her lovely face lighting up in a manner that cheered Shiyu immensely. After a morning of enduring the cunning grins of gnomes and the foolish smiles of pandas, seeing a genuine Hualing smile instantly filled her with a sense of the world's kindness. Our lord is, Isana, star language. Siye's eyes immediately grew serious, her mind rapidly searching for this name. Generally speaking, when someone introduces someone, they would say their name is, but this little girl directly said that their lord is, which must be a remarkable big shot. Because it signifies confidence on the part of the other person, and the name is one that everyone is sure to recognize. But Shiyu indeed does not recognize. Oh, so it's Isana Senior. It's been a long time since I've heard your name. This phrase is quite versatile, after all, as fellow celestial beings, calling each other senior across the starry sky doesn't cause any issues. In secret, they quickly searched for this name on the internet. A search revealed that he was indeed a big shot, the 7th lord of the Federal Eastern Star Domain, ranking 27th in the entire star list, and a great lord born from the star language family. This kind of lord who can enter the top 50 of the star list is mostly an elder who has survived for a million eons. Of course that Sun Yue, who rose to prominence and defeated the 3rd lord in just half an eon, is an outlier and cannot be compared. This grand lord, born an elf, the quality and reputation of the items should be impeccable. So said, the master is currently nurturing a group of flower spirits, and therefore wishes to purchase some star beast eggs for future use. Any recommendations? Cultivating a flower spirit? The clerk looked at Shiyu with some surprise. Although she wore a helmet, she could still tell that this person was not a deity born of an elf race. She rarely saw members of other races take the initiative to cultivate elf bloodlines. But for whatever reason, being willing to provide a habitat for the elf race still stirred a faint sense of goodwill in her, as an elf herself, and her smile grew even warmer. As he led Shiyu into the store, he opened an exquisite refrigerated display case and introduced, "This new flower spirit is suitable for raising star beasts with gentle temperaments, easy to shape, and stable genetics. I recommend this pastoral dog breed, which is native to our ruling star." Rural dog? Shiyu was taken aback. What a cheesy name. Could it be something like Chuan Chuan? How much is it? Shiyu asked. 100 spirit coins for one. Ours is a high-grade variant ahem, a high-grade local variety that has evolved over several eons, with a very stable genome, extreme compliance, and is not picky about food. Sure enough, it's that scoundrel, Shiyu thought to herself, her face darkening. Ah, it seems that all business people are the same, even such cute and beautiful flower spirits can be rendered so solemnly and absurdly. Society indeed is complex. The master desires to cultivate elite flower spirits, so please do not bring these counterfeit products to defile the master's eyes. The clerk smiled awkwardly upon hearing this, originally thinking he had encountered a novice who could sell off this group of mongrels. It's also about considering the costs for Lord Master. After all, there are still many places where the new lord needs to spend money. While she still can talk, upon hearing this, it seems that the girl's previous behavior can be considered from the perspective of thinking about others. However, am I supposed to be a geeky lord who needs a mere shopkeeper to attend to my feelings? Thinking of this, he waved his hand grandly and said, "Don't worry about these, the ability this time is here specifically to purchase high-quality goods, just let them out, as long as it can be resolved with the god coin, it's not a problem for the master of the ability." "Ah, so you're a big shot, I apologize for my rudeness just now." Upon hearing this, the clerk immediately smiled as brightly as a flower, quickly apologizing. "Just right, our faction's dragon level, Master Cabo, has hatched a batch of new eggs under his care, would Lord you consider it? Star-eating python? What a brazen name. That's right, this name really fits the aura of the Master of Abilities. What about that pastoral dog? Can you show it off when you bring it back? How will the people in the base view the Master of Abilities? Lord, behold, here is the pure blood certificate of the parents, as well as their video." Sia looked up and saw, in the high-definition video, two towering serpents intertwining their heads and tails, encircling a massive planet, resembling a black disk. She shuddered all over, thinking to herself, this physique truly lives up to its name. How much cargo? The master wants it all. Good lord. Even the flower spirit, who usually doesn't show her smile, couldn't care less about her appearance now. Her cheeks were flushed with a rosy glow as she foolishly smiled. "There are a total of 500, all being sold in different markets. If you want them all, I'll contact the collectors right away." She nodded slightly, asked casually again, "By the way, how much is one star python egg?" "Staff, 1 billion. "Oh, after thinking it over, Master, what you said just now makes a lot of sense. The new apprentice, Hualing, would be more suitable to try with some stable breeds. Why don't you bring out that batch of rural dogs for Master to take a look at?" "Sold?" At this moment, on a top-tier administrative star wrapped in dreamy crystal, far in the distant eastern galaxy, an exquisite fairy elegantly sat upon an ice crystal throne, comfortably holding a cup of wine that shimmered with blue starlight. She asked her subordinate, who was reporting to her on the massive virtual screen in the sky. If she were here, she would definitely notice that the person on the screen, who was just a shy little flower spirit, was actually the same one. At this moment, the spirit of the flower changed her attire, and although it was the same face as before, the aura was completely different. One could feel the Grandmaster's aura from across the screen, and her starry eyes seemed to penetrate through billions of stars, still able to see here. It was obviously the might that only a rare immortal being could possess. "My liege, just now, the sale was completed." The female flower spirit smiled slightly and asked, "Is the background of the other party all right?" The elf, known as the Lord, squinted with those starry eyes and inquired, "No problem." The female spirit, Jinzhong, said solemnly, "A small lord of the Eldiara family, luckier than most, found an 8-level planet with energy mines. Such a power, countless in the universe every day, would not attract anyone's attention." "Are you sure it's him?" "Absolutely." Flower spirit nodded. "Even a star-level shapeshifter cannot perfectly disguise themselves as a level 5 lord in front of me." "That's good." The fairy lord nodded satisfactorily. "After selling this batch of goods, we'll erase all traces. Don't let that person Sang Yue find an excuse. R has never conducted experiments in the abyss." Mentioning Sang Yue, a hint of fear on the face of the spirit of flowers, who nodded repeatedly. "Yes, we have no connection at all with the abyss." "Sir, do you really think you'll use up all these egg skewers?" Panda Man de Bao followed Shiyu, curiously asking. "It's a bit excessive." Shiyu adjusted her helmet. "Over 10,000. How many players would she need to attract to have 100,000 Hualing spirits?" "Certainly, consumption is still too impulsive, but with a 50% discount on buying 10 million when you calculate it, it's only 50 yuan each." Thinking it over, it's quite a good deal. Don't keep on and on about it after you go back. "De Bao, but in our place, the rural dogs are all mixed breeds." "That's your place." Shiyu glared at the uncooperative dumb panda and said, "These are the pastoral dogs on the planet ruled by Lord Aisha, where in such top-tier star systems, the excrement of general organisms is considered high-grade energy material. Locals call them chuan chuan and pastoral dogs. Can an alien follow along and call them that?" "What is it called?" asked De Bao, his expression of simplicity as he gently patted his chubby head. That master has already thought of a name for it, and it's called star-swallowing dog." "Don't argue, that's the name from now on, got it?" "De Bao, good, master." Shiyu nodded satisfactorily. Although this fellow is a bit naive, he still seems very obedient. "Sir, where are we going now?" "To buy a mech," Shiyu replied casually, but suddenly feeling something was off, she turned her head to look at De Bao more closely, her expression puzzled. "We haven't even walked a few steps yet? Why are you sweating so much?" "De Bao, I'm so tired. That's how pandas are, usually. We travel by rolling, but we can't do that here. What if I accidentally knock over something outside a shop, and master, even if you sell me, I wouldn't be able to pay for the damage, would I?" That makes sense, but no, that's not the point." Shiyu shook her head. "This isn't the key issue. You're a blacksmith, and you're already out of breath after just a few steps. Do you have enough strength for your daily iron forging?" "Not enough," De Bao honestly said. "So, De Bao, I can only craft one premium sword every 5 days. 5 days in a row?" Shiyu nearly bit her tongue upon hearing this, feeling a sense of unease, and asked in haste, but that goblin said you were the master of pure bronze craftsmanship. Yes. Debao, with a naive smile, said, Master, haven't you seen? I can ignite the inner fire. I am a pure bronze tribes blacksmith with the art of forging. But if there's only one premium sword in 5 days, how long will it take you to craft a weapon of higher grade? Debao hesitated. Oh, then it might have to be calculated on an annual basis. Puff. Shiyu nearly spat out a mouthful of old blood, barely holding it back before his voice, hoarse and low, said, You dare to shout for 5 million with such a? Debao curiously scratched his head. Debao is a panda person, naturally right? Could Master not think that 5 million could buy a pure, problem-free bronze tribe blacksmith? Speaking with a foolish expression, his pupils dilated, his face contorted with the look of disbelief, as if to ask, could this old man really be foolish? See yeah. Am I the first celestial race in history to be stared at by a panda person with such an expression? Damn it! He should have thought of that. How could he have gotten such a good deal in the goblin's hands? What should we do now? How can I explain it back home without being mocked by the intelligent? Claiming to have spent 10 million on a bunch of mongrel eggs and a panda that can only wield a weapon once every 5 days? Surely I will be trampled by intelligence, won't I? Esteemed Lord, the Mecha Warrior mentor you have scheduled has arrived. Please promptly join the meeting via the network. Friendly reminder, a good habit of punctuality will make job seekers more trusting of your character. Is it this afternoon? Shiyu slightly furrowed her brow, feeling a bit disorganized. Should she buy another smart device? The base is developing rapidly now, and it naturally cannot be separated from the maintenance of smart devices. And being in the Federal Center, naturally, out of caution to not expose his location, he dared not connect to his base's network. This is common sense, not just for lords, but generally for workers on the planet. When they are granted leave to return home, they are usually prohibited from connecting to the planet's network, for fear of exposing the planet's location. The Black Forest Principle has always been a fundamental rule among the various powers in the universe, even the great lords, except for the governing stars and trading stars that can no longer be concealed. Most life stars and mineral stars are strictly confidential. After all, a large power generally has to span several billion light-years. Once some stars are exposed and known to an enemy force, it may be too late for your to arrive before your star is destroyed. Intelligent devices of higher quality are indeed quite expensive. My first intelligent device was an extra gift from the Federation, encouraging the Tianshan race to venture out. Genuine high-quality intelligences start at 10 billion. Right now, my base is in a phase where spending is necessary, and to purchase an intelligent device just for a personal scheduler seems overly luxurious. He eased at the weather. Shiyu glanced at the meeting time indicated on the talent website. Knowing that it was too late to return to the hotel now, he could only take Debao and find a small eatery, sit down, and then link up to the internet and send the message over. But a few hours later, he would realize how foolish it would be to place a panda person in a snack shop on such an expensive free trade star. Are you kidding me? Shiyu, standing by the meeting room, gazed at the serious elders of the Luosha tribe inside, feeling like she wanted to smash the smiling head of the hunting chief next to her. That old man's complexion revealed that his cellular aging was extremely severe. According to his lifeform's level, he could live at most another 100 years, and he had also lost his left hand and left foot. A dying cripple who looks like he's on his last legs deserves $1 million salary? Do you really think the master is foolish and has an abundance of money? The Lhasa clan is renowned for producing exceptional mech warriors, making them one of the strongest mech warrior clans in the universe, second only to the Blade and Giant clans. Moreover, the Lhasa clan enjoys an even better reputation for their external work than the other two clans. Just from the perspective of their racial bloodline, they should be extremely popular. But one must also differentiate between individuals. This is clearly an old fellow who plans to loaf around and die, with missing arms and legs, and he dares to ask for $1 million salary. The headhunter seemed a bit embarrassed, but still replied politely, Respected Lord, the person's shortcomings are indeed quite apparent. He is old, with little time left, lacks upward potential, and before joining, Lord, you would need to personally pay for him to have a Hex-Tech arm installed. What? He wants a Hex-Tech arm too? Shiyu burst into laughter. Does he even need a starry elf to warm his bed? What kind of joke is that? Just being able to give him a mechanical arm is being generous enough. A Hex-Tech arm? The cheapest one starts at over $1 million. Is this old guy crazy? Cough. The headhunter gave a light cough and replied in a low voice, Indeed, the requirements are a bit high, but actually, it's not without its worth. Oh? Shiyu narrowed her eyes, choosing not to continue with her cold sarcasm. After all, the other party was a professional headhunter from a major website, and since they had said that, there must be a particular reason. She quietly awaited their next words. The headhunter was surprised to see the other person calm down instantly, mentally nodding to himself. Although this guy is a novice, he does possess the demeanor that a lord should have. Thinking, he pulled out a detailed profile of the old man and handed it to Shiyu, speaking slowly. This man is named Robert Kells Lhasa. He was a mech pilot in the Deathwing Legion under the former Third Lord Hanju, and it is said that he was even a small team leader. Deathwing? Shiyu's expression was filled with astonishment beneath her helmet. She had heard of this mech team before. It was the ace mech under Lord Hanju, who was renowned for his titan. Although Lord Hanju was famous for his titan, he was still one of the strongest lords in the Federation. Naturally, the strongest mech under his command was not comparable to that of a general lord. Khan Nathar may be awesome, but he's been extinct for over 700,000 years. Hasn't the Deathwing been exterminated by that one long ago? Shiyu voiced her doubts. Of course, not the main force. The headhunter smiled and explained, he's the captain of the mech soldiers stationed in a certain sector star system. You know, even if a power as great as the Hanju Lord were to collapse, it would still be like a centipede that dies but doesn't stop wriggling. Just the star domains under his command are enough to occupy us for a while. That's right, Shiyu nodded, but then realized, you're saying this is a remnant of Hanju? Are you crazy, recommending such a person to me? Xie was so scared that she didn't dare to mention her master. Now, in the Federation, the one who is at the peak of popularity is the newly appointed Third Lord, San Yue. The Federal recognized war god, the remnants she has vanquished, who dares to take them in? Is this headhunter out of their mind? Isn't it good to be alive? Of course not what you're thinking. The headhunter explained with a wry smile. Joking aside, although this talent network is a subsidiary of the First Lord's empire, it is still just a subsidiary, who dares to offend the war god who is currently at the peak of his fame. This person has served a sentence of 14,000 years under the Lord of Tsanyue, and is now free. It hasn't been long since they were released from prison, which is why they look the way you see them now. So that's it in terms of their resume. The person's asking price really isn't that high, after all. However, it's actually quite difficult to find a job for this type of person, much like programmers from Planet D. Once they reach a certain age, if they become unemployed, it becomes quite troublesome to find another job, as their prices don't drop, and their cost performance is not particularly appealing to many bosses. Lacking in advancement and with a lifespan of only a century, normal lords all have a mature mecha cultivation system in place, and there is no need for an outsider with such an impressive resume to intervene. Moreover, they also have numerous shortcomings, and for new lords, most cannot afford such a high salary. Even if it can be afforded, it would seem rather wasteful, as having such a good mentor for the newly developed indigenous civilian projects does indeed sound overly luxurious. But Chiyu is different. Those under his command are all Jin Buo with boundless potential, and spending any amount on their education is not excessive. On a comprehensive level, he suddenly found that this amputee old man was quite suitable for him. If you find this unsuitable, we have other recommendations. The headhunter quickly pulled out 2 more documents. These are the 2 mech mentors previously booked for the occasion. One is a graduate from a prestigious university, but was publicly expelled by a major power due to some misconduct. The other has a lower education, graduated from a second-tier mech academy, and has years of teaching experience, but has not been promoted for years due to some slackness, and was advised to leave by the power that originally hired him. To be honest, without this current example, these 2 should be among the best mech instructors you could hire, right? These 2 still have a bit of self-awareness in their hearts. They both want to get a good price, with a salary of 200,000 yuan, which is already very cheap for this industry. However, everything fears comparison. With the precious jade of Zhuyu ahead, the 2 lumps of dung, Shiyu, are just unpleasant to look at no matter how one views them. Finally, he sighed, placing the 2 pieces of information aside, and walked towards the meeting room where the elderly man with missing limbs was located. The headhunter saw this and his eyes lit up, quickly catching up. In fact, he also hoped to close this deal. After all, the intermediary fee for headhunters is based on half of the annual salary, so which side is more profitable, the 50,000 or the 5 million? Is this not self-evident? CA approached the meeting room, and the old man inside slowly stood up and performed a federal standard military salute. Maintain an attitude of neither humility nor arrogance, neither belittling a novice lord because of past experiences with top-level factions nor appearing overly servile due to a high salary. This aura Shiyu has only seen it on some of the elders in the family, and a look of respect flickered in his eyes. After the collapse of the Hanju faction, the news spread throughout the universe immediately. Most people declared their withdrawal from the Hanju faction after confirming the message. As the leader had fallen, there was no issue of breaching contracts or disloyalty. But those who continue to hold on to the land left by the Lord are undoubtedly worthy of respect, which is why the bloodthirsty Tsanyue did not choose to annihilate them, but instead, after defeating these veterans, she recruited them. The information states that this elderly person did not wish to submit to the enemies of the former Lord, and was thus sentenced to a term of 14,000 years. All in all, he's quite the man. Faced with such a person, Shiyu had no intention of saying anything insincere. Instead, she asked directly, "Your requirements state that the surgical transplantation of the hexacopter mechanical arm is a necessary condition. Could you please explain the reason for this? Why?" The old man smiled broadly. "Of course, it's because I want to live." Xie nodded upon hearing this, then addressed the other party. "The master is willing to accept the demands you have proposed. Are you willing to accept this appointment?" "Ha? That's it?" The headhunter who followed along was taken aback, feeling somewhat incredulous. "Isn't there any haggling involved?" The old man naturally nodded with pleasure, and the 2 were very happy to sign the agreement under the witness of the headhunter. Even after Shiyu and that old mecha master logged off, the headhunter responsible for the signing still felt that the process was too smooth. The colleague helping him gather his things saw his expression and smiled. "How come? Signed a big deal and still look like this?" "I'm not quite understanding." That young headhunter, feeling embarrassed, scratched his head and smiled. Why would that lord ask such a question, and then promptly sign the contract upon hearing the answer? It feels like this deal was made rather mysteriously. Beside him, the elder colleague smiled and shook his head upon hearing the words. "For salespeople like us, no deal is ever. Today's deal may seem smooth, but that's because we've matched it well. Take a close look at the lord's profile. As a new lord, he's able to put up 1 billion yuan as a guarantee, and his transaction volume in just a few days has already approached 50 billion. What does this prove? It proves that this lord is not only wealthy but also willing to invest heavily in initial construction. Only such a lord is most likely to choose the old armor general just now." "What is the reason for asking about Hex?" the new person curiously inquired. The old colleague gave him a cold look. "That's what happens when you're not solid in your major. I asked you, what advantages does the Hex's prosthetic limb have over other mechanical prosthetics and products?" A new person was taken aback and cautiously asked, "Low infection? High retention? Seamless neural linkage? You mentioned that these better mechanical products can be achieved, but why are the prices not even 1/10 of Hex mechanical?" The new person subconsciously said, of course, it's due to its evolutionary capabilities. Ahem. At this point, the new person paused, as if recalling something. The old colleague beside me smiled and said, thought of that? It's all about the evolutionary ability. Once a regular mechanical arm is fitted, the nerves at that location can no longer be exercised, and they will remain static throughout one's life. Poor quality products can even infect with metal toxins, causing nerve degeneration, but not HEX. A high-fidelity anthropomorphic technology allows those who have fitted HEX to continue exercising and improving themselves. Even in that situation, he still wants to go further? The new person was utterly astonished. This was the reason why the Lord finally decided to hire him. The old man's expression turned serious as he said, no one would like to employ an employee who gives up on the future and lives off others. The old man has only 100 years to live, yet he still wants to continue moving forward and try his luck one more time. Perhaps in your eyes, the chance may seem extremely slim, but it is this desire to pursue evolution and live longer that led the Lord to finally make the decision to hire him. Pausing again, he said, that's why I deliberately wanted you to mention the other party's HEX requirements. As a headhunter, understanding the psychological needs of both the Lord and the job seeker is fundamental, and it's also the biggest weight for success. I'm relieved that you cared about the reasons for the successful transaction right after it happened, rather than just thinking about this commission. Keep up the good work. New recruit. You will become an excellent headhunter. The new person, upon hearing this, his face lit up with a look of respect, saluted with a respectful bow and said, thank you, senior, for your guidance. Right, upgrade this Lord's potential level to be, provide better talent channels. This person not only has good luck but also meets the characteristics of an outstanding Lord in terms of decision-making and performance. As long as there are no unexpected incidents, he should be a long-term partner with great value. You are to continue following up on his situation. Yes, senior. This is what kind of situation? Just after being praised by a headhunter, she logged off in a daze, looking at the pile of plates on the table and the embarrassed, shy smile of Dibao beside him. An ominous feeling rose in Shiyu's heart. Greetings, esteemed guest. A total of 408,671 day divine coins. May I inquire if you prefer to pay by card or cash? If you opt for online payment, please note that this establishment only accepts federal cloud payment. Services like Ant Financial and Tencent Supermessage are not accepted. For 40,000? Shiyu was so startled by the price that she nearly bit her tongue. Yes. The clerk smiled warmly. The dishes your panda person ordered are all the finest from our restaurant, using top-grade ingredients sourced from various high-level star systems. This includes meat from level 5-star beasts and level 4 rare fruits and vegetables. Whether it's the origin of the ingredients or their quality, our restaurant has been officially verified by the Federation. We also have the market prices for the corresponding ingredients, and the prices are clearly marked on the menu. We are certainly not trying to cheat you. Sia choked, and with the other person speaking so professionally, with no leaks in their argument, he couldn't find a word to. He then glared fiercely at Dibao. You actually dare to point that out? Indeed, it's too delicious. Dibao blushed and smiled awkwardly. I originally just wanted to order one plate to try it out, but I couldn't stop eating. I'm sorry, Lord, can these funds be deducted from my salary later? Salary? She looked at him with a distant gaze. Who told you you had a salary? Lord, I am a person of honor, not a slave. You do this, and I can complain against you. Dibao hurriedly said. How on earth did this oddball survive to this day? Oh, my head hurts. This Lord looks unfamiliar. I haven't seen him much before, so he must be the newly appointed Lord, right? Just as Shiyu was at a loss for words, the boss suddenly smiled broadly and asked, bending over. Shiyu was taken aback, then looked over, only to realize upon a closer glance that the boss, though chubby, was sporting two whiskers resembling those of fish. It then dawned on her that this shopkeeper was actually a demon breed. And it is the Tam people who live near the abyss, a tribe with a not-so-good reputation. In their eyes, seemingly, anything can be made into food, including intelligent beings. To think of this, you looking at the remnants in the plate, suddenly felt an uncomfortable nausea rise within her. The store manager saw Shiyu's gaze shift to the plates and immediately smiled while explaining, Guest, rest assured, we are a legitimate restaurant. Any establishment that operates on Proxima Centauri would not resort to such crooked methods. Sia remained silent and did not speak. Your race is a crooked path. Esteemed Lord, unperturbed by the indifferent store manager of Shiyu, he smiled and said, how about we discuss a business deal? As a token of sincerity, I'll take care of the bill for this meal. Not interested, bring the card reader. Shiyu replied directly, dealing with goblins in business might just result in losing some money, but dealing with demons, often it's your life that's at stake. Don't refuse so abruptly. The store manager still squinted with a smile, looking amicable, but unlike before, the storekeeper's originally unremarkable aura suddenly surged, emitting an extremely terrifying pressure that even halted the surrounding space. Shiyu even felt that for that moment, she couldn't even breathe normally. We merely wish to cultivate some fresh ingredients. If Lord, you are willing to allocate a breeding ground within your newly established territory for us, and commit to providing us with a steady supply of ingredients each year, we will offer you a generous return of 20 billion heavens coins annually. Moreover, we will take full responsibility for the initial construction costs. How do you see it? 15th level Demon Tower Tam. And he opens his mouth with a business deal worth 2 billion yuan in just 1 year. Beneath the Shiyu helmet, a pair of purple eyes flickered restlessly, muttering to himself, this certainly isn't a proper snack shop. My own grandfather, Lord Long, is no more than a 15th level life form, yet he is the pillar of a great family and an interstellar commander under a great lord. Such a person coming to a restaurant? It's unimaginable and must indicate some major issues within. What kind of ingredients it is, Shiyu is definitely making him raise some illegal creatures. Once you agree, although you may gain short-term profits, you will inevitably be at the mercy of others. Once the Federation discovers it, you will truly be in trouble. He is currently on the rise. With a group of indigenous people with such extraordinary potential, how could he possibly take this one-way street? Thinking of this, the moon laughed coldly, looking directly at the other party without fear, and coldly said, "What? Since the Master of Abilities doesn't do this business, isn't it that you won't be able to leave this door today?" The store manager, upon hearing this, a hint of ferocity flickered in his narrowed eyes, but he dared not go as to openly kill a celestial lord on this territory. After a few seconds of confrontation, "You overstate the matter, sir." "Humph." She let out a cold snort, giving the other party no chance, and directly said, "Then, let's settle the bill." The store manager's smile froze for a moment, but he said nothing, giving a subtle nod to the person behind him, who nodded in return and quickly picked up a card reader from behind. After Dashi Yu and Debao left, the store manager stared at their backs with a sinister look, his eyes flickering, as if lost in thought. "Big brother, why are you so obsessed with this new recruit? This kid doesn't seem to be on the same page as us, does he?" One of your subordinates asked curiously. "Don't judge anything by appearances." The store manager, "I can smell there's a taste of the void on this kid. He's pretty bold, daring to do business with the void. Since that's the case, he won't likely to stay in our business either. Go check. What background does this kid have?" "Good." As soon as his subordinates responded, suddenly, a faint voice echoed, "What do you wish to investigate?" The store manager was startled upon hearing this sound. At this distance, someone was so close, yet the half-demon who had stepped into the dragon level showed no reaction at all. What background did this person have? He turned his head quickly, only to see an extremely beautiful face, along with the refreshing fragrance of flowers. Floral spirit? The store manager swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his face showing a bit of daze. If it's a profession like an assassin or a shadow walker, that's manageable, but even a flower spirit can achieve this, which can only mean there is a complete dimensional gap between us. Senior misunderstanding. Today, it seems I've hit a brick wall. That kid has some formidable backing behind him. The first batch of elves successfully transformed into their physical forms on the second Martian day after the Lord's departure. From dusk onwards, the sound of ghostly howls began to emanate from the elf training base. The sound was so piercing that it even drew the Green Titans, who were exercising their muscles at the neighboring soldier training base, to gather outside and discuss it among themselves. Player A, it's louder than my cat in heat. What on earth has the person inside gone through? I really want to go in and see. Player B, that's right, I haven't wailed this loudly during estrus. Players, the chief instructor, surprisingly, also joined in the commotion, stroking his chin and saying, I've heard that the process of transformation is incredibly painful, not much different from the pain women experience during childbirth. The crowd was startled upon hearing this. Is it true or not? To change a job in a game requires going through the pain of giving birth? This game is really cheeky. A fairy with athlete's foot, oh my, I'm glad I didn't choose an elf, otherwise, I'd have to go through that pain again. Beside her, a titan that had been clinging to her side suddenly froze, his face going rigid as he said, You have a child? Little fairy, oh no, it's stuck. What did I just say? Is giving birth this painful? At this moment, in the Green Titan group, a small, purple-skinned woman with a prominent belly was stroking her abdomen, her eyes carrying a hint of unease. So many people, what are you doing following out here? The instructor suddenly became tense, quickly using his own massive body to protect her. The woman with the purple skin was the wife of the Commandant Xanda, a member of the Vermil Star race, a branch of the Titans. Feeling her husband's tension, the woman smiled slightly, but still deliberately gave him a cold look and said, The base is too stuffy, everywhere has a smell of sweat, why don't we go out and breathe some fresh air? What's the point of that? There's no oxygen outside, what kind of air are you trying to breathe? Hurry up and go back. Xanda, with a bad mood, said, You refused to stay in the house I rented in Vistana for you to rest, and you had to come with me here. Is the air quality in that place not better than here? That won't do. The woman glanced at the little fairy not far away and said, There are so many young people here, what if you do something that offends me? Surrounded by the verdant titan, the sound of you echoed, causing the instructor to feel his pride. He retorted firmly, So what? Men work so hard outside, and a little infidelity now and then is understandable. Ha ha. Many male companions nodded in agreement. The woman, upon hearing this, that woman's labor in childbirth is so arduous, why don't you just not care about whose child it is, okay? Xanda. Exactly. The female companions immediately started cheering. Here, a fierce debate unfolded on the issue of the ancient principle of yin and yang, while the elves were enjoying a harmonious atmosphere of huddling together for warmth and comfort. My goodness, is it really that painful? I haven't given birth to a child yet, woo. One of the female elves, listening to the sounds from the delivery room cough, no, from the transformation chamber, the entire sphere turned pale. No problem, the boyfriend comforted, no big deal, you'll have to go through it anyway, experience it now, and it might not hurt as much later, we're the ones who are really unlucky, we didn't have to go through it. Many fairy male companions silently mourned at once, it's just a game, yet they, as dignified men, have to experience such pain. Is this planner a devil? Out. Out. Just as the atmosphere was oppressive, the door of the transformation chamber opened, and several successful transformed elves walked out from inside. At this moment, they were still covered in an unknown, wrapped in makeshift cloth rags, their faces pale, appearing incredibly weak, truly as if they had just given birth. But all the elves were completely dazzled at that moment. These transformed beings, regardless of gender, were so stunningly beautiful that it took one's breath away. Even Waylon was utterly astonished. The star elves have always been renowned for their beauty in the universe, but when compared, she herself felt somewhat ashamed. What elves can they be that beautiful? My goodness, Guo Chang can transform anything into this form. The art team of this game is truly masterful. People around kept nodding continuously. The elf players aren't as busy as the Green Titan usually is, especially during this period of transformation. They all know each other quite well, and since they all look like balls of fur, they often share photos with each other and look forward to their appearance after transformation. Today, despite the towering stature of Green Titan, one can still discern some of the contours of the real person within. This is also the reason why many Green Titans are obsessed with this game. Originally, with a face that looked exhausted in reality, after a slight transformation in the game, they can be so formidable and majestic. How could they not be passionate about it? The sight of the ball-like elf players was enviously admired. Now that they are finally about to shed their ball-like appearance, everyone is subtly worried about what they will look like. The model provided by the mentor is quite nice, but in the heart of the foot-licking, chubby otaku, there is still an unease, a sense of impending exposure of their true form. Until this point, after the first batch of players who successfully transformed emerged, the first thought that crossed everyone's mind was, could I, a woman, look that beautiful too? Suddenly, I feel a little pain isn't such a big deal, after all. The group that emerged at that moment, noticing the stupefied gaze of the crowd, felt a sudden unease and stepped back slightly, asking, what's wrong with you guys? Especially a few of the men. I always feel a chill in my buttocks, and those people's eyes seem a bit off. Alright. Waylon regained her composure, clapped her hands, and said, hurry up and go upstairs to take a bath and change into a new outfit. Please save water, as the water usage at the base is currently high. The slime on your bodies is extremely nutritious. It has the effects of whitening the skin and enhancing immunity. In fact, you can clean each other up and not waste it. The clothes, even the lords, have prepared for you. They are all made of stretchy fiber materials, so you don't have to worry about not being able to wear them. Several newly formed players were momentarily bewildered, and several girls blushed immediately. They didn't hear a word the mentor said afterward. They only felt that the game's scale was enormous. They wondered if there was a strict crackdown going on now. The results exchanged a glance with each other, as it was too dark inside to see clearly just now. Upon taking a look at each other now, they were all momentarily struck dumb. My god, what a beautiful young lady. So handsome, Appa. Ahem, attention, players. This game responds to the call of the Federation, refuses vulgarity, promotes positive online energy, in order to purify the online environment, and better spread positive social energy. The content mentioned by the mentor just now should be blocked by yourselves. All shapeshifters are instructed to sequentially go to the third-floor bathroom to clean your bodies. Do not deliberately expose any sensitive areas, otherwise, you will be punished with a forced offline. For 3 days, and in severe cases, your account will be suspended. Players, my goodness, what is going on here? An elf player who has just transformed into a shapeshifter spent an entire afternoon staring at himself in the mirror, still unable to come to terms with his own beauty. The key is that the person in the mirror is beautiful, yet it is not a complete transformation. There is still an indistinct outline of their real-life self. It seems as if, after the most delicate adjustments, their hidden beauty has been fully revealed. All shapeshifters, upon seeing their own appearance, shared the same thought, I'm actually can look so beautiful. Indeed, the mundane makeup techniques of the real world have hindered my lady's, beauty, causing me to struggle in the mundane world for many years. It's only in this game world's art design that I find someone who truly understands me. I said, well, how long do you guys plan on just sitting there in front of the mirror for? The mentor looked at the players, who had been seated in front of the mirror for the entire afternoon, with a look of exhaustion. One player, holding their own chubby face like a flower like jade, said, Master, please don't pay attention to us. We have been deceived for too long, and only discovered our true selves today. Let us take a little more time to look around, otherwise, we will have to face the false world again when we go back. The mentor was speechless. Oh, what have these children got themselves into? I hope they can get back to normal before the Lord returns. Violen weakly pressed her head and slowly walked out of the room. Opened the record sheet, filling in information about this batch of transformed players. The first batch of players who have transformed into beings with form totals 34, among whom there are 20 travelers. Most of the energy of the travelers is biased towards the upper limbs, accounting for 11, while 6 travelers concentrate their spirit power, and only 4 have energy in the lower limbs. Seeing this data, Waylon began to feel a bit worried. A few days ago, the Lord clearly expressed his desire to cultivate a group of rangers, but the current situation looks quite bleak. Those with lower limb bone walkers are suitable for developing into rangers, but it's not guaranteed that they will become rangers. Everything still depends on the professional tests by ranger masters in various aspects, including the expression of physical attributes and the growth potential after training. Moreover, psychological ability also plays a part. After this round, it's very possible that there won't be a single ranger among this first batch of elves. If my first task results in such an outcome, I don't know if I'll lose my job. Waylon expressed great concern, as she is actually very satisfied with her current job. She holds a good position at the base, overseeing thousands of elves, and the chief instructor even greets her politely. The elves are highly talented with strong prospects for development, and her salary is not low either. If she loses this job, she has no confidence in finding another one as good. The remaining 14 players are all spirit types of non-human beings, including 3 wind demons, 6 flower spirits, 1 stone spirit, 1 wood spirit, 2 druids, and 1 watcher. It's quite balanced. Due to their indulgence in their own beauty and reluctance to move, they are now not very cooperative during the basic tests, causing great distress to Weilin. However, she is not worried about this. After observing the color of Fengyao's feathers, she finds them very healthy, although not particularly vibrant. The luster is reserved, indicating an extremely high quality, although they haven't been tested yet. Based on her eyes, these second-level transformed beings all possess nearly third-level qualities. After getting this idea, Weilin realized that the capacity of these elves might not be just over 20% after all. It feels like as if one is similar to those favored offspring in one's own family? This should just be a feeling, right? The ones at home are the top-tier nobility in the universe. It must be a misconception, right? Micro Lin comforted himself in his heart. On the other side, the moon achieved its wish and successfully recruited the person it desired. Aside from that old mech engineer with a missing hand and foot, he also managed to hire a master rogue. However, this rogue is not a traditional elf wanderer, but a wind spirit. Wind spirit type rogues are quite rare, as generally, rogues use bows. However, due to the majority of their muscles being distributed on their back wings, their arm span and stretching power are very weak, making it almost impossible to train a skilled archery. But there are also alternative methods. Wind-type rangers mainly use their sharp, blade-like feathers as throwing weapons, with the focus of their training being on their wrists' throwing vibration ability. Compared to traditional bow ranger types, they are much more agile. Of course, this type of ranger also has its drawbacks, which is that their range is quite ordinary. At the same level, they need to engage in close-range combat more, which is riskier than traditional rangers. However, Shiyu is not concerned about this. With the quality of the people in her base, she is sure to develop in a multi-line manner in the future. A composite legion will definitely be more versatile in tactics and competitive than a single-type legion, which has been proven by the Federation war god Songyu through the campaign to annihilate Hanju. The Titan army of Hanju stands alone in the world, yet it still cannot overcome the versatile composite army under the command of Songyu. After nearly 10,000 years of war, the numerous battles led by Princess Songyu have now been incorporated into the curriculum lists of various military academies. Even the military courses at their Divine God Academy mainly use these battles as teaching materials. The diversification of legions has now become a major trend in the Federation. So, the more types of trainers there are, the better, and for this rescue mission, the Wind Demon type archers might not be any less effective than traditional archers. In addition to the Master Ranger, he also recruited a Shadow Dancer trainer and a Druid trainer, with each agreeing to a salary of 300,000 yuan per year. The backgrounds of the latter few were not as legendary as Old Robert's, but they were still quite good, with no bad records, and they were all from noble families. Moreover, each had nearly 1,000 years of teaching experience. Their resumes may seem ordinary, but they are also suitable for the current situation of the Shiyu base. It's not very realistic for him to recruit a famous trainer with his current influence. The remaining tasks are all basic ones. The technical workers promised by the Wine Immortal are basically in place, totaling more than 150. They are all experienced workers with over 200 years of work experience, all indigenous people who were conquered and colonized by the Wine Immortal in the past. Each of them carries a federal official slave contract, and after transferring to Shiyu, Shiyu does not have to worry about the issue of betrayal. And then, CA also recruited a number of federal citizens for various domestic professions through a talent network, including assistant black iron dwarves, tailors, chefs, carpenters, and other essential roles, hiring over 100 in total, big and small. All are willing to sign lifelong contracts, the lower class with no bad records and a clean background. Regarding this, Shiyu can only choose to believe in the reputation of this first talent of the Federation. Under the suggestion of Old Rob, Shiyu purchased a batch of cost-effective basic models, priced at 100,000 yuan each. Although not branded, after a test of their performance, they are not inferior in any aspect to some million-dollar products with logos. After purchasing, Shiyu couldn't help but marvel. Indeed, it is necessary to have professionals accompany the buying and selling process to acquire goods that are both beautiful and affordable. Everything that needs to be equipped is more or less in place, so after I go back, I should be able to start planning the establishment of my very own town. I still feel a bit excited when I think about it. The issue of educational resources remains a major concern, but there's nothing he can do about it. According to the staff at TalentNet, the next job fair is scheduled in 2 months. That being the case, during these 2 months, it's just the right time to deal with the virus incident and the inherent risks of Mars itself. Transforming Mars is the first major project Shiyu currently faces. According to intelligent testing, since the collapse of the planet's magnetic field, a large amount of water has been drawn into outer space, and some of the water has undergone chemical reactions with the Martian crust, becoming locked in the planet's surface. Mars' inability to form life today is largely due to this. With the collapse of its magnetic field, immense climate temperature variations, the inability to naturally form an atmosphere, a lack of water, and consequently, the difficulty in forming life forms. The first thing to do is to rebuild the magnetic field, stabilize the atmosphere of Mars, and then release the water trapped in the rock layers to form oceans. Then, after that, artificial operations will be carried out to release a large amount of carbon dioxide, guiding it to form an atmosphere on the surface of Mars, thus making it more suitable for the survival of ordinary organisms. These operations may sound incredible to the D-Ball people, but for a civilization like his, they are as simple as eating and drinking. At the time in the Celestial God Academy, this planet course was a basic requirement for a celestial god. Every so often, their mentors would take them to various backup planets for, the likes of the harsh level 9 planet Shiyu, which they had experienced countless times, were nothing compared to the planet before them, which was practically an entry-level course. However, the issue is not the difficulty of the transformation, but the current situation. After all, there's a neighbor next door who can send countless nuclear bomb blessings to his planet. Such a major renovation requires careful planning to keep the neighbor in the dark, how to stage a perfect disaster to eliminate all those satellites. Smart said it's right, these things must rely on players, it's not realistic to implement such a plan alone. First, take a look at the player's qualities in terms of execution. Thinking of this, the moon arrives at the center of the base and inquires about the progress of the intelligence over this period. Intelligence. The lineup for the Green Titan side has basically been finalized, totaling 15 members, including the top 10 players in the weapons department based on their comprehensive scores and the top 5 players in the Berserker department based on their overall strength. The side is just beginning to transform. According to the simulation of this plan by this intelligence and the player Yunu Wugua, the best profession pairing is as follows. He then sent over a career matching chart. 5 raving green titans are absolutely necessary, as the rescue plan is highly likely to encounter a highly ranked mercenary team from the D planet. With the current turmoil in South Africa, many factions are seeking to take advantage of the situation, and the arms dealers are doing a booming business. There's a possibility of encountering heavy weaponry. In cases of necessity, a certain level of explosive power is needed to break through heavy weaponry or heavy fire zones. A titan specializing in the Berserker class is then very necessary. The weapon specialization is used to ensure continuous combat effectiveness. The Berserker warriors enter a weakened state after undergoing Berserker transformation. At this time, when heavy-duty combat power is needed, the weapon specialization titan needs to step in. Shiyu looked at this in confusion. Isn't the mecha power of Rain has nothing to do with it included? Intelligence, not included. The player Rain Girl has no connection, is just a level 1 life form. Whether she can advance to level 2 after training this week is uncertain. Although she has excellent rune talents, she can briefly use level 3 spiritual power through rune power. But this move is extremely risky. The mech only gives her certain self-protection abilities and cannot be counted as part of the tactics. Shiyu nodded upon hearing this, and continued to read on. Other configuration suggestions include equipping 5 rangers for environmental detection, monitoring movements, and sniping enemy long-range fire points. Requirement, at least a level 2 ranger, capable of warning about the danger of sniper rifles and quickly locating the snipers, with the ability to eliminate them at an extremely fast pace. Main responsibility, to protect the fragile individuals within the team, with a focus on Rain Woman no connection herself. As she saw this, Shiyu's lips curled slightly, and she continued to read on. At least 5 infiltrators, used to assassinate the enemy's leader in emergency situations, to achieve the effect of causing chaos. It's best to have a stone spirit or a wood spirit in the team. In critical moments, magical power may achieve a stunning victory, used only for surprise attacks, so it does not require much. The standard equipment consists of 5 teams, each equipped with a ferocious specialty green titan, 2 weapon specialists, a ranged archer, a vigilant rogue, a scout, a developer, and either a stone spirit or a wood spirit. Task plan. First, infiltrate 5 routes into South Africa's current 5 major plague hotspots under the name of Dr. Philip, release the antidote serum, and vigorously assist local journalists in reporting that the plague has been controlled to alleviate panic. If necessary, annihilate any mercenary teams with sinister intentions. And for the specific task details, Rain has nothing to do with it. Listed a half-person high stack of paper plans. Just by looking at it, the number of words was at least approaching 1G. Xie glanced at the plan list and exclaimed, "Wow, are all the developers this talented?" Intelligence, of course not. There are always differences among individuals of any race. In a superior race, heroes can be born as well as waste. Now, that Sangyuet, the strongest warrior god recognized by the Federation, is merely a member of the Lanyu race infected by the void. Throughout the history of the Lanyu race, has there been a second person like this? Shiyu, it's truly to be educated by such an intelligent entity. In fact, CS sometimes even doubts whether this intelligence is actually a person posing as one. It's a bit too humanized, isn't it? What about the transformation situation on the ferry side? Can it support the needs of this mission? It's a bit difficult, the AI responds. Before you came back, there were 2 batches of players who transformed, totaling 60 in number. Among them, there were only 2 shadowy figures, and only 5 had strong lower limb bones in the walker category, making it hard to gather enough assassins and rangers. Shiyu furrowed her brow. Where is the Wind Demon? Wind Demon? There are quite a few, nearly a dozen. Is Lord wanting to alter the list of professions for this setup? No. Shiyu shook her head and said, I will still use the one you guys have this time. I've brought back a Wind Spirit type Knight instructor, who can train several knights to fill the numbers. Wind Demon Knight? The intelligence suddenly fell silent, then the tone temperature dropped sharply. Lord, please record the newly hired personnel into the database as soon as you return to the base in the future, otherwise, this intelligent may not be able to provide the latest data analysis. Xie was taken aback. Oh sorry, I was too tired when I came back yesterday, so I just went to sleep first. Why, all of a sudden, he felt that this intelligent was really angry. This must be an illusion, right? Intelligence, such a thing, can get angry. Doesn't it sound a bit mystical? Cough a light cough. Shiyu discarded the impractical thought she had just had, and continued, as for the number of assassins, should we consider the Watchers if there aren't enough shadows? Watcher? Lord, wouldn't you think that such a profession can't be put on the field after only a week of training? Well, one has to try, right? Shiyu also feels a bit reluctant. The Watcher possesses spatial talents, which are very promising for an assassin. However, this profession is extremely difficult to master in the early stages. Generally, an elf who can master the talent within half a year after transformation is already considered to have excellent potential. In many families, such individuals would likely be given special attention and training. Self-imposed to be usable within a week, it's indeed somewhat overly demanding. But for some reason, Shiyu always felt that these players could bring him different surprises. Welcome, player Lasan, to return to the Starsea for 5 cents per pack. Are you applying for on-the-job training or course training? Spicy Sticks glanced at the dwindling points left in their account, hesitated for a moment, and ultimately chose the option to work first. And unlike the Green Titan, the elves currently have abundant educational resources, as there are only a few dozen deified elves in total. As long as you have enough points, you can basically find empty slots for courses whenever you apply, except during the normal rest time of your mentor. But the drawback is that most elf players are at a disadvantage in terms of points. And unlike the sturdy Green Titan who can work outside all day, the previous could only work for a maximum of 4 hours each time, after which it had to return to the base to replenish water. The time available for work in a day was limited, and with the transformation period, most of the spirits were eager to transform quickly, so the number of spirits working decreased even more. The current points are severely insufficient. Spicy Noodles glanced at the content of the upper post and finally chose to engage in grazing. She transformed into a wind spirit, and after the transformation, she not only gained a pair of wings but also found her field of vision much broader than before. Sometimes, she can even see the details several kilometers away. This innate talent gives them a unique advantage in herding a single area, with some players even able to apply for hundreds of star rhinoceroses or cattle at once, without a care for getting lost. This is a great opportunity for them, the wind spirits, to rack up points. Common sprites can only tend to about 10 heads at a time, and those who can run faster might dare to apply for up to 30, but otherwise, they might not be able to keep up. Only the wind spirits have no such concerns, so being able to fly is a huge advantage. Indeed, Lord, since this return, the base has undergone significant changes. Firstly, a large magnetic field has been established around the main base, with the gravity within the field adjusted to 10 times that of Mars. Additionally, a vast area of greenery has been updated, mainly consisting of a small grass with purple light, known scientifically as argent gray. Although I don't know why a purple grass has an academic name that is completely unrelated to its color, that doesn't matter, it's beautiful enough. Now, the base has undergone tremendous changes compared to its beginning. Around the base, over 10,000 square meters of greenery have been spread out, with part of it planned as an agricultural area, while the majority is now a pasture, used for raising livestock with a body size similar to that of elephants, intended for meat production. Outside the base, it is no longer the barren and desolate landscape it once was. With the addition of greenery, a new workshop, a large canteen, and a blacksmith's shop have also been established. The scales are all large, and they are also the new labor channels for the elves to join in the game. You can choose to work in the cafeteria, serving and washing plates, or help in the dye shop by making dye, dyeing fabrics, cutting cloth, and processing some special materials. Of course, you can also choose to swing a hammer in the blacksmith's shop. These new jobs do not offer a significant advantage in terms of points, and they are not much different from the previous tasks of taking care of specimens and working on farms, but they are more labor-intensive. But listening to the smart speaker, although it doesn't have an advantage in terms of points, it can still learn practical life skills. The chubby panda at the blacksmith's shop is said to be a master blacksmith skilled in the art of runesmithing. Once you accumulate enough points at the blacksmith's shop, you can learn the technique of runesmithing from him. And that cloth workshop is the same. It is said that a master tailor has been hired. After completing the full-time work, one can learn advanced tailoring techniques, and it is also said that one can learn enchantment skills. As for the octopus lady who washes dishes in the cafeteria, well, it seems she's just a dishwashing lady for now. However, with her 8 arms, she washes dishes at an incredibly fast pace. I wonder if this species will be developed later on. As for those who work on the farms, planting vegetables and herding, what will they learn once their working hours are fulfilled? She was also looking forward to the planner's explanation of what comes next. Hey, Spicy Strips, have you run out of points? Just as I received a task at the farm, Spicy Strips bumped into an acquaintance in the face, who was one of the acquaintances from the group that transformed together. Liao Chao replied softly and was about to go fetch the livestock he was to tend to, but just as he took a step forward, he was halted by the other person. I said, these days, if you want to grab a task slot, you'll need to spend more time on training. If you don't have enough points, should I share some with you? Do you have a lot of points? The man, a familiar face from her real life, someone she grew up with in the same courtyard, is someone who, in reality, has a rather creepy demeanor due to his constant playing of games. However, after being transformed into an elf in the game, he suddenly became human-like, and his confidence soared along with his new face. Before, in reality, I would be unable to even fart for half a day, but now I'm suddenly able to tease myself without any problem. The kid is really full of himself. But, he should be fine. He should be able to provide for our training this week without any issues. The ridiculed otaku modestly said, oh? He paused for a moment, thinking to himself, their wealth is so substantial? That's an otaku, spending every day immersed in games, their savings can't be thin, can they? Well, let the old lady engage in a bit of feigned politeness with him. This won't delay your progress, will it? Spicy Sticks spoke with a considerate tone. No, no. I have plenty of points. The other person chuckled, patting their chest. It seems that your family background is quite impressive, thought the Spicy Sticks to himself, then said softly, we've been close friends since childhood, what's there to be polite about? With a smile that spread across her understanding face, she said, sister, do you think we should change our names? Why change the name? Think about it, before everyone was just a ball, calling us Spicy Strips or Brain Tofu was fine, but now with our divine appearance, continuing to call us that would be a bit of a downgrade, wouldn't it? Brother, you're right. Lao Shio smiled warmly, but in his heart, he muttered, you asshole, have you forgotten what you look like in reality? You're not even as good as a spicy strip, yet you dare to look down on my name. What should we change it to, brother? I've thought about it, and since you're so beautiful, why not just call you Meili? Then, what about you, brother? The girl still smiled as brightly as a flower, asking, is it called Luo? Oh my, what a great name, sister. Shalua sounds so melodious, doesn't it? Well, it's poetic, alright, let's go with what sister says. How about our Shallowa duo working hard together to be selected for this task? Ha ha. Ha? Is the girl laughing sarcastically? Where is that? Spicy Sticks quickly chuckled and softened, clapping her hands like a blooming peach blossom, saying, Sister, do you think it's good that brother pays so much attention? Oh, that's good, that's good. Good sir, you actually dare to ask for a couple's name with me? Dream on, you. With the upcoming talent show competition, I'll just bear with you for these 2 days. After these few days are over, I'll show you what it means to not recognize someone after pulling up your pants. What? Morals? Come on, aren't those big guys in the game, just to get some gear, also using voice changers to call others husband? Is this not a normal operation on my part? However, she hadn't realized that in the world of mingling, most of the time, it's not as easy as imagined to escape unscathed. With your wrist strength, how many times do I have to say it? Don't use your arm, are your brains made of iron? Can't you turn it? In the training ground, the wind demon instructor sternly instructed the students on the use of the pitching technique. A group of handsome wind spirits were now frowning, deeply missing their former teacher who taught them to transform their forms. How gentle she was, like a person made of sugar and water. Compared to this one, though also beautiful, she was as fierce as an old witch. Green Titan players commented, that's what you call fierce? Our head instructor got so fed up that he would use us as brooms, swinging us around whenever he felt like it. We were beaten up at least 3 times a day. Did we become proud? Gazing at this group of unwilling little rascals, as their actions improved with each successive attempt, the wind demon instructor, though his expression remained stern, couldn't help but be secretly amazed. To be honest, at first, when she heard that she was to teach the wood sprites, she felt some resistance within. Their low bloodline tolerance led to extremely poor racial talents, making the teaching process extremely laborious. It's often said that a good teacher makes a good student, but that also depends on the student's talent. Give her a pig and ask her to train it into the best hunting dog, and even the best trainer would be frustrated. If it weren't for the high salary offered by the Lord and her urgent need for a well-paying job, she would definitely not have chosen this job. But it was only after she began to get in touch with them that she realized that these wood sprites were completely a different species from the ones she had encountered before. Firstly, it's about quality. When she arrived, the mentor responsible for shaping gave her several newly shaped wind spirits, but the quality instantly made her think the other person was joking. The perfection of the fur color and the well-defined muscles, were they truly newly shaped? She believed that they were wind demons who had undergone half a year of nutritional adjustment and professional training from a prominent family. And does it not seem that these creatures are too beautiful? How can they look even better than the star elves? If it were not for their amber-colored eyes, she would not believe that these wind spirits are transformed from wood elves. After starting the training, the series of shocks she experienced from these guys were one after another. Firstly, it is the time these wind demons master the ability to fly. Generally speaking, for shapeshifting spirits like non-walkers who wish to master their extraordinary bodies, it requires a great deal of effort. Many wind spirits from prominent families have to spend at least a month to master their newly transformed bodies. But these little brats, on the second day of their transformation, they could even fly crookedly in the air. By the third day, there were feathers and their flying figures everywhere in the entire base. How many months did it take for me to master flying when I first transformed into my current form? She is no ordinary mixed blood. Her name is Sheena Windwalker, a descendant of the renowned elven ranger family, the Windwalkers. The Windwalker family places great emphasis on nurturing rangers, so as a born wind spirit, she was not very favored, but she was never one to back down, and she chose the path of the ranger anyway. Although she does not take on the form of the mainstream of the family, she is also a pure windrunner bloodline. She is one of the top great clans of the Federation elven race, not much inferior to the first noble star elves. Now, the 5th noble in the top 10 nobles is from their windrunner family. Such a bloodline gives rise to wind demons that are not favored by the family, but their quality will not be poor. However, even so, it took her a full 3 months to master flying, with ample nutrition and professional mentorship. Now, these little brats, having not been taught much themselves, it is said that they simply found a cliff, jumped down one by one, and casually took to the skies. Upon learning about this, she was utterly speechless. What the hell, you guys dared to learn the wild way eagles teach their cubs to fly, and you even succeeded? Could it be that our elves' previous methods were too conservative? Bang! 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 Suddenly, the sound of 3 sword blades piercing the target pulled Hino back to her senses. She listened briefly and immediately knew someone had successfully mastered the technique of spiral vibration. This is the second point that startled her in these past 2 days. These guys' learning ability is simply monstrous. Most of the skills are mastered after just one go-through. For those that are a bit slower, after a few corrections from myself, I grasp the knack immediately, and the practice becomes as smooth as flowing water. Generally, the higher the purity of one's bloodline, the better the aptitude for learning, which is a characteristic of the elven race. But isn't this aptitude too good? Teacher, the female wind spirit who just threw the dart, looking uneasy and lowering her head, asked, "Is there anything that needs to be corrected?" Hino, upon hearing this, slightly gathered his thoughts and stepped into the target, examining it carefully. The force penetrates through 3 layers, and the spiral of wind on the force paper has not yet completely dissipated. It is evident that whether it be the skill or the mastery of the wind element, this arrow is almost the technique of a professional wind spirit rogue. The spiral dart is already considered a difficult skill to master in the early stages of the Wind Witch Ranger, as it requires first learning the complex spiral technique, and then skillfully controlling the wind element within oneself to accelerate the feathers thrown out, achieving a rapid spinning effect. This skill requires a considerable amount of control over hand techniques and the element of wind, which, in fact, were not originally courses for beginners to the night class to learn. But after observing the target situation, China pursed her lips and fell silent. At first, when the Lord had said that they needed to cultivate a usable second-class ranger within a week, she had even thought for a moment that the Lord must be mad, or perhaps just lacking in common sense. To cultivate a newly shaped wind spirit into a professional level 2 ranger within a week, one must truly have a remarkable degree from the Celestial Gods Academy. Now it seems that she has a limited perspective. Is this truly just a native wood elf transformed? Or could it be that this lord has abducted a direct descendant from some hidden wood elf family? Teacher? The girl asked cautiously again. Well, it's passable, I guess. Hino was shocked in his heart, but maintained the required solemnity on his face, his voice calm. Remember the feeling just now, practice more often, and try to ensure that you can achieve this level each time. Good teacher. Upon hearing that she had passed the level, the female player immediately let out a sigh of relief, showing an expression of finally having it all sorted out. He watched as his eyelid twitched. What will we learn next, teacher? Do not aim too high and beyond your reach. First, master what you have in hand. Class is dismissed. Ah. But teacher, I still have over an hour of class time left. Can you teach me a bit more, and I'll practice it all together later? Hino, upon hearing this, gave her a stern glare. Oh, the female player nodded submissively, listening to the Titan player say that mentors are usually very irritable, prone to hitting people, so it's best not to provoke them. If they were to get hit, it wouldn't be worth it. She didn't have the thick skin of a group of green-skinned beasts, such a beautiful face wouldn't look good if it were to be disfigured. After seeing the other person's honesty, Shinua turned around with his hands behind his back, secretly sighing with relief in his heart. He muttered to himself, I feel like if this keeps up, I might not have much left to teach by the end of the year. Will I lose my job then? Oh my, I suddenly feel really anxious. Finally things are starting to get back on track. Shiyu tirelessly inspects her base, the fragrance of the lush vegetation and the occasional smell of cow dung filling the air, truly brimming with vitality. However, it is still necessary to have a well-functioning waste treatment system in place, as this is a development towards the urban direction. Once the artificial atmosphere of Mars is successfully created, we can then move the pasture outward. Lord! Lord! As Shiyu walked along, he could see shepherds everywhere. Whenever someone greeted him, he would nod in response. After all, it's not paid work, and if the attitude were too proud, it would be a bit too unkind. Sheep grazing has now become the top priority at the base. After all, there are thousands of titans waiting hungrily behind. Relying solely on artificial magnetic fields to stabilize the pastures can only temporarily ease the urgent situation for now, but it definitely won't keep up with the demand in the long run. It's imperative to put the transformation of the Martian environment on the agenda as soon as possible. To think of this, the moon looked up towards the location of the multifunctional training ground. A multifunctional training ground is an advanced facility capable of simulating scenarios, characters, and various events. It is not inexpensive and also consumes a considerable amount of energy each time it is activated. A novice lord usually wouldn't purchase such a high-end building in the early stages, and Shiyu hesitated for a long time as well, but in the end, she made up her mind and bought one. He doesn't want to waste the potential of his people, although he's reluctant to part with the wages temporarily. But can one be poor when it comes to education, right? Now, the location has been temporarily requisitioned, specifically for training the selected individuals who have been assigned temporary tasks in their emergency response and coordination abilities. Trained in collaboration with instructors from various weapon systems, the overall warrior instructor, the rogue instructor, and the shadow instructor, the training for ordinary citizens has been suspended and closed for these few days. This is for the best. For these subjects of mine, they have been either mining, herding, or applying for course training these past few days, with no time to spare. It's been incredibly hard work, and it's really heart-wrenching to see. Just the right time to give them a few days off so they can focus on mining and herding. Indeed, I am a merciful lord, Shiyu thought to herself. Thinking of the task, he, who was more concerned about the success or failure of the task, still decided to go to the multifunctional training ground to check on the progress. After all, the success or failure of this task directly determines whether the next more complex space rescue mission will be carried out, which holds great significance, even if we don't consider the next task. For this epidemic, Shiyu is more anxious than the heads of state of the federal countries. As she walked deeper into the building, Shiyu saw several mentors conducting simulated training based on the performance of the trainees. She did not disturb them but watched silently from the side. The training room was divided into 6 sections, each corresponding to one of the 6 groups formulated for this session. The content of the training for each group was roughly the same, but there were also some subtle differences. Primarily, it is the terrain, as the 6 groups will be separated for transmission later on, each corresponding to the terrain of 6 epidemic outbreak points, and simulation training has been conducted. Most of the terrain outside the city is the same, as it is all inland, except for one coastal city, with the rest being nothing but deserts. But the internal structure of the city is quite different. Intelligence has completely simulated 6 city maps through an invasive satellite into the multifunctional training room, and then immediately calculated out various scenarios of encounters that may be encountered in the tasks. How many mentors are there, each teaching their students how to face various situations? For instance, how to deal with various D-ball weapons that are still using rather primitive thermal weapons today. These are mainly shooting weapons that utilize the high-pressure gas produced by the rapid combustion of propulsion fuel to propel projectiles. They are purely materialist technological products, devoid of any other mystical composite energy. Such weapons are actually quite easy to counter. In terms of single combat, the secondary lifeforms under Shiyu's command have an advantage over facing some idealist civilizations. Stay calm, take deep breaths, don't panic. As Shiyu just stepped into the first floor, she heard the thunderous voice of the chief instructor, Zonda. To be honest, it's a wonder not to be startled by such a thunderous roar. Shiyu followed the sound and went over, peering at him from behind. At this moment, Zonda was training several Green Titan warriors on how to confront the common heat weapons of the D-ball. A few little bird guns, what's to be afraid of? Did you grow that flesh white? But instructor, didn't you say our physical strength can't withstand a sniper rifle? A student asked hesitantly. Zanda, upon hearing this, almost instinctively slapped the trainee, who was sent flying several meters away, causing Shiyu, from afar, to twitch her eyelid. But Zanda only realized after the slap that the other person's question seemed to be perfectly reasonable. Ah, I'm so used to it, I coughed and said softly, why do you stand so close when you ask questions? Ahem, remember to stand farther away in the future. Students, the physical strength of a second-level lifeform is not that it can't be completely defenseless against sniper rifles, it's just that it can't withstand hard defenses, and it relies on some techniques. He demonstrated, and just as the bullet from the sniper rifle was about to strike him, Zanda dodged the vital spot and then forcibly clamped the bullet with his muscles. Many students watched in amazement, their eyes widening in awe. Wow, that's manly. Muscle bound with bullets, is there anything more macho than the Aizu plate? This is just a demonstration. Enjoying the admiration of the students, Zanda smiled broadly and said, but not at all times should one do this. The skeletal and muscular strength of secondary lifeforms, theoretically, can withstand bullets, but one must master the techniques. Firstly, one must avoid vital points. There are some fragile parts of the body that cannot be hit, otherwise, there is still a possibility of death. Moreover, one cannot be shot at the same spot repeatedly. The most important factor is the adaptability of the muscles. Muscle strain capacity? The students were immediately curious. Absolutely, adaptability. Zanda said solemnly, firstly, it's perception. Your muscles must learn to judge which forces can be sustained and which cannot. This is very important. Take the example of a shotgun. In close-range situations, the power of that gun is considerable. At this point, if you still adopt a tense defensive posture, facing it head-on with brute force might cause the hit area to shatter. At this moment, you need to learn to dissipate force, following the impact of the bullet to avoid damage, even if it's pushed away. It's better than facing it head-on. Of course, if the judgment is good, you can use the activity of your muscles to push the bullet away before it fully exerts its force. Zanda demonstrated it himself, switching the simulation room to fire a shotgun at his left chest. Then, in the instant the bullet struck, he stepped back slightly, his skin tensed but his body flexibly utilized a small tremble to alter the bullet's trajectory. After just a slight retreat, the bullets were deflected in a different direction, leaving the audience of trainees in awe. Can this be done like this? How is this achieved? How did it happen? Zanda sneered, you'll soon find out. The players' faces stiffened with excitement for a moment, their gazes fixed on the smile, causing a sudden jolt in their hearts, followed by an inexplicable chill. It's so familiar, the warrior training. Shiyu listens to the players' cries of despair, squinting with a nostalgic expression, recalling the scenes of her own training by the instructor in her family when she was young. Of course it wasn't as crazy as it is now. To train students' muscle perception, they would directly make them eat bullets, using rifles like the sniper gun, Thompson, M4A1, and AK-47, to adapt their muscles to the different strengths of various gun types. Jean-D almost made them try each one individually. The students were beaten to the point of their skin being torn open and crying out in pain. By the end of the afternoon, there was hardly any good flesh on their bodies. Even Shiyu, born into a warrior family, was startled and thought to herself, no wonder he's an old in the arena, his hands are as black as pitch. Compared to the other training room mentors, their methods are much gentler. For example, the archery mentor teaches how to judge the position of snipers and how to counterattack the fastest. The mentors of the gun specialist and broadsword specialist teach them how to break through heavy fire nets using combat skills. The ferocious class mentor teaches how to quickly render armored vehicles, tanks, and other heavy weapons inoperable, etc. Although the training seemed severe, it was nothing as brutal as Zonda's teaching methods. What surprised Chiyu even more, however, was the attitude of these players. Although they cursed the game as perverted, their bodies, battered by old Zonda, still persevered. Witnessing the scene where those bruised and bloodied men finally completed the training and embraced each other, Chiyu couldn't help but secretly sigh. They really are a terrifying group of aboriginals. So, he was increasingly puzzled by the occurrence of this epidemic event. Based on intelligent analysis of intelligence from various regions, it is evident that this unknown virus pandemic has clear traces. The forces behind it are complex, involving not only ambitious individuals but also large arms dealers secretly pushing the situation. Their purpose is to incite unrest so that they can better sell their weapons and reap substantial profits. Shiyu couldn't understand these people's behavior after seeing the report. In his view, the people on this planet have such potential that if they could concentrate their resources and focus on technological development, they would have long left the Milky Way galaxy. According to an intelligence survey, the technology on this planet has stagnated for a full 300 years since the Fourth Industrial Revolution, developing at an extremely slow pace. Billions of people are constantly engaged in intrigue for the scarce resources on a mere 7-level planet, even willing to destroy their own walls. Now, they have even come up with the means of viruses, which in his view, is simply missing the point. The boundless starry sky, countless lands and resources unexplored and untapped, spending the whole day fighting over trivial interests as small as ants, what a waste. Typically, it's the narrow-minded outlook of a naive native. Nor do I know if it will be in time to prevent the short-sighted ones from using their foolish methods. He asked in secret to the intelligence, how long do you predict the situation over there can hold out? Intelligence, based on multifaceted data calculations, it is feared that we can only hold out for about 10 days. By then, there is a high possibility of a catastrophic all-out outbreak of the virus. In order to prevent this situation from occurring, our task force must depart at the latest within 5 days. 5 days, Shiyu murmured, then asked, with the current training situation, is 5 days enough? Is it too demanding? Intelligence, it's expected to be fine, although the training time is somewhat tight. After all, they are level 2 lifeforms, and they have an absolute advantage in the hierarchy of life. As long as the plan is meticulous and the temporary command is executed smoothly, even if the players have less experience, the likelihood of completing the task is still relatively high. Shiyu nodded upon hearing the words, then looked up towards the direction of D-Ball. As a deity, although he is currently only a level 5 lifeform, his powerful allows his supreme purple star-like eyes to observe the azure planet from a great distance. May those humans suffering from the virus be stronger, endure a bit longer, and wait for the rescue that will come from our side. Ha? What's wrong? Shiyu was taken aback, for the AI could emit such a questioning phrase? Just now it seems that a player has moved the teleporter. Which transmitter? Shiyu was taken aback, and an ominous premonition immediately rose in her heart. The one prepared for transmitting tasks. Shiyu, what?
真是坑逼队友呀！进入游戏里勉强逃过一劫的郭晓云顿时狂抓头发，自己到底是造了什么孽？怎么能遇到这种神坑室友啊？当时因为停电，自己又不好以游戏为借口，又溜到寝室里窝着。只好随着这群无聊的八卦女在客厅打发时间，前一秒还在讨论华哥被捅的事呢，结果自己就上个厕所的功夫，那女的也不知道抽了什么风，居然就主动自举了。我的妈呀，明明上一秒还是笑嘻嘻的啊，这个人变脸怎么能那么快的呀？先是室外摸猴坑的自己差点狗带，这回又主动送头，差点导致他们302寝室被团灭，得亏自己有这款游戏啊，自己上辈子是抢了他男人还是偷了他家大米啊？要不要把自己坑得这么狠呢？越想越觉得委屈，小云德差点没把眼泪给气出来。如今他可以说举目无亲，只能指望领主的那个任务能完整解决这次病毒事件了，要不自己都回不了家啊。当时那种情况下，他当然不能跟着室友一起被隔离，自己是超越人类的一级生命体，尽管体质表现不太出来，可这种大型检疫肯定能查出他和普通人的不同，到时候多半是会被抓去做人体研究的。哎，算了，这样也好，这样便可以安心游戏任务了。可之后事儿完了之后，回去该如何解释呢？领主大人在吗？小云打算问一下任务具体人选。智能，领主大人外出了，有什么事可以和我说？小云，这次任务人选挑出来没有啊？智能，还没有，第一批游侠预计今晚才能化形成功，而且还需要1周专业的游侠训练课程，还要1周啊！小云顿时一脸苦涩，到时候自己妈老汉不得急疯了呀！智能，这次任务必须万无一失，不仅是那些游侠，你也要进行1周的专业训练。我？小云愣了愣，指着自己道：“我要训练什么？”智能，领主这次外出，除了给你们雇佣更多的专业导师之外，还会进购一批职业道具，比如花灵需要的星兽幼卵、专业的铁匠铺和武器锻造师，以及你的机甲导师和基础机甲装置。机甲？小云顿时一喜，真的？智能，原本正常情况下，哪怕最简单的机甲也要3级精神系生命体才能操控，但你的奥数天赋很高，居然能解开3级的秘术符文。有符文加持的情况下，你短时间内应该是能操控得了的。如果掌握了机甲技术，也能让你在这次任务中拥有一定自保之力。好，小云一听到机甲，顿时脑中的烦劳一扫而空，双眼狂冒星星。原本以为要等很久的，没想到下周就能带着机甲去执行任务，心中一下火热起来，满脸的期盼。本高达这就要去拯救世界了。前几天精灵区那驼翔隐藏职业身份公布以后，整天就在各大基地里狂嘚瑟。小云看着他扭来扭去的样子就来气。不光是他，对于其他种族职业的日常，他也是有些羡慕的。精灵化形一看就很好玩，那些绿巨人呢，都进入练武的阶段了，一个个平时也兴奋的飞起。唯独他们这群开发者，新玩法没见几个，特么居然还要上数理化，搞得一群人整天厌了吧唧的。自己作为开发者一姐，自然也不想看到自己这一脉的同胞士气如此低落。号召大家跟他一样一起愉快的当个学霸，好像也不现实。正好这次机甲一来，给点正面影响，让他们多点盼头，也好长长士气啊。到时候去新手区抢人的时候，底气也要足一些。开发者那可怜的人口，也是时候该扩充一下了。想到此雄心勃勃的小云连忙问道：“那领主什么时候回来？”智能，不知道。如果被坑了的话，应该快了吧？领主经常被坑吗？小云好奇道。智能，也不算是。如果没遇到地精的话。小云，地精坑人很厉害。智能，很厉害。小云，你不是智能吗？就不能防止这种事发生？智能，如果智能能坑得过地精，他们早被灭族了。小云，无语。西月对智能的话深表同意。宇宙中恐怕没有几个人没被地精坑过，如果不是他们那独特的商业天赋不可替代，这群丑陋的家伙早就被联邦众族组团剿灭了。我要的是青铜一族专业的武器铸造师，你特么给我找个熊猫人！此时普罗西纳星上，西月愤怒指着那一脸憨厚笑意的熊猫人，对着眼前的地精愤怒地咆哮道：“请不要激动，亲爱的领主大人。”地精面对愤怒的西月，依旧一脸笑眯眯的模样，露出他那一口标准的黄金牙道：“ 大宝和一般熊猫人不一样，当初跟过一个青铜一族的老铁匠，学到过很多精湛的手艺，绝对是熊猫人里最好的铁匠。废话，熊猫人里根本就没有铁匠。西月气笑道：“你这话和绿泰坦里最厉害的法师有什么区别？您看看，这就是您认识狭隘了。宇宙宽广无限，任何事都不能说的那么满。熊猫一族都出了个天神了，出个铁匠又有什么稀奇的呢？你少给我来这些，退货，否则本领主就向商会投诉你。”哀领主大人真是急躁呢。地精扣了扣脑袋道：“您自己应该也清楚，青铜一族的铁匠可都是联邦的抢手货，怎么可能会愿意去一个新手领主那里工作啊？”西月冷哼一声，不买账道：“招不到青铜一族的铁匠，本领主难道还不能招一个黑铁矮人？熊猫人都来，你怎么不推荐一个史莱姆来给本领主打铁？”没办法了，地精晃了晃脑袋，对着熊猫人道：“大宝，别人不信你，还不赶紧给这位领主大人露一手？”那叫大宝的熊猫人闻言憨憨一笑：“好嘞。”随即居然真的启动了铁铺，开始铸造起武器来。西月微微一愣，那可是青铜一族专属的4级精品铁铺，没有掌握5级以上的丹火，连火晶都点不燃。这只肥熊猫难道真掌握了青铜族的手艺？您看，我没骗你吧？西月，哎，本来咱们领主大人非常看好您的前景，所以特地吩咐我们这些小的和您做生意时要尽量优惠与您，就是为了结个善缘。这次4级的精品铁匠铺，加上拥有青铜族手艺的铁匠的终生合同，才收您500万天神币。说实话，本人这辈子都没做过这种亏本买卖，没想到还被大人您嫌弃了。也罢，既然大人看不上，那咱就给您把货退了吧。等等，西月连忙叫住了对方，摁容本领主再想想，又是500万没了呀。西月望着账户里越来越少的金额，心中越发的没底，自己第1期贷款都还没开始还呢，这次应该没被坑吧？西月望着旁边跟着自己一脸憨笑啃着脆金笋的熊猫人，心中暗自想到，星兽卵他没有选择在九仙那里进购，他查阅过资料，九仙领主的势力擅长工业，生物买卖这一块口碑似乎很一般。1000年前还出现过一个大型的负面新闻，听说是他们卖的魔狼咬死了主人，这被咬死的主人他还认识，叫奥丁，是他们天神系上一届毕业的模范生，也是出去穷游成功找到一个7级生命星球的幸运大佬。自己导师还拉着他给自己这些学弟学妹灌了1下午的心灵鸡汤，他一直印象深刻。那哥们身材魁梧，还故意做了个独眼龙的装扮，说那是一个值得尊敬的对手给他留的标记，是战士之间的荣耀，所以他并没有选择做手术恢复，语气里满满的大佬逼格。却没想到有朝一日居然会被一只狼狗给干掉，还真是死的难看呀！看官是想买星兽吗？正想间，西月一路逛到了一个专业卖星兽的店铺，外面摆满了星兽笼子，稀奇古怪的什么样的品种都有，热门的星狼、幻尾狐、冰火蝶、星云雕，冷门点的如那种孔形母猪、毒液、巨渊水母的幼兽都有，一看便是很专业的生物系势力。想到此，西月问道：“请问这是哪个领主手下的店铺？”追寻来源也是保证商品质量的一个方法。大领主为了口碑，一般来说不会在产品质量上做手脚，毕竟市场竞争力大，一旦你被爆出负面新闻，很容易让你损失大批客户。守店的是一个花灵妹子，这也是让西月选择咨询的原因之一。和精灵打交道比和地精打交道要让人安心的多。花灵妹子听到询问后，美丽的脸蛋露出让人心暖的笑容，看得西月心情都好了不少。毕竟看了一早上地精的奸笑和熊猫人的傻笑，此时看到一个正宗花灵的笑容，瞬间感觉到了世界的善意。我们领主是艾萨娜星宇。西月眼神顿时郑重了起来，脑海里快速搜索着这个名字。一般来说，一个人在介绍某某某的时候，都会说他叫某某某，但这小姑娘直接来句他们领主是某某某，那就肯定是个了不得的大人物了，因为这代表对方很自信，这名字说出来别人就一定不会不认识。但西月确实不认识，可嘴上还是做出一副惊讶的语气：“哦，原来是艾萨娜前辈，久仰大名。”这句话比较万金油，反正同为天神，一声前辈叫遍星空都没啥毛病。暗中则是在网络上赶紧搜索起这个名字，一查之下发现还真是个大佬，联邦东星域第7领主，整个星榜里排名27，是星宇家族出生的一个大领主。这种能入星榜前50的领主，大多都是存活了100万纪元的大佬了。当然，那个只半个纪元便瞬间崛起干掉第3领主的苍月，属于异类，不可用来比较。这种大领主还是精灵出生，物品质量口碑应该是没问题的。于是道：“本领主手底下正在培养一批花灵，所以想买一些星兽卵回去备用，有什么推荐吗？”培养花灵？店员有些诧异的看了西月一眼，这家伙虽然戴着头盔，但他还是看得出这人并不是精灵出生的天神。外族的人他很少看到会主动培养精灵血统的，但不管是什么原因，愿意为精灵一族提供生存土壤的，这让身为精灵的他还是升起了一丝好感，笑容又更加温和了一些。随即带着西月走进店内，打开了一个精美的压缩冰柜，介绍道：“新的花灵适合养一些性格温和、好塑造、基因稳定的星兽，我推荐这款田园犬，产自我们主正星本地品种。”田园犬？西月一愣，这名字好山寨啊，不会是什么窜窜吧？多少钱啊？西月娜娜的问道。100天神币一个，我们这个可是高级窜窜壳，高级本地品种，经过几个纪元的演化，基因非常稳定，服从性极强，并且不挑食。果然是窜窜吧？西月黑着脸想到。哎，看来做生意的都一个样， 这么可爱漂亮的花灵都能被渲染得如此一本正经的扯淡，社会果然是复杂的呀。本领主是要培养高端花灵，这些山寨产品就不要拿来污本领主的眼睛了。店员闻言尴尬一笑，原本以为遇到个新手能把这群土狗推销出去呢。那个我也是为领主大人您的成本考虑，毕竟新领主要用钱的地方还很多呢。还是会说话。这么一听，这个妹子刚才的行为似乎还可以从为人着想方面想一想呢。但本领主是需要你一个区店员来照顾感受的屌丝领主吗？想到此，他大手一挥道：“不用顾虑这些，本领这次来就是为了买高级货的。尽管放出来，只要能用天神币解决的问题，对本领主来说都不是问题啊！原来是个大佬，刚才是我失礼了。”店员闻言顿时笑得跟朵花一样，连忙道歉道：“正好，咱们市里的龙级驯兽师卡博大师手底下的吞星蟒诞生了一批新卵，领主大人，您要不要考虑一下？”吞星蟒，好嚣张的名字。对吗？这名字才符合本领主的逼格吗？那什么田园犬，买回去自己拿得出手吗？让基地里的子民怎么看待本领主？领主大人您看，这是父母的纯血认证书，还有他们父母的视频。西月抬头一看，只见高清视频里2条滔天巨蟒首尾相交，将一颗偌大的星球环绕包围，犹如一个黑色的圆盘。西月看得浑身一颤，暗道：这体魄还真对得起这个名字呀！有多少货？本领主全要了。好的，领主大人。一向笑不露齿的花灵此时都懒得顾及形象了，脸颊肉高高堆起，傻呵呵的笑道：存货一共有500颗，都在不同的市场售卖，您全都要的话，我这就给您联系集货。西月微微点头，很随意的又问了句：对了，这个星蟒蛋多少钱一颗？店员1亿。哦，本领主想了一下，你刚才的话很有道理，新手花灵还是比较适合一些稳定的品种来试手。你刚才那批田园犬再拿出来本领主看看没？卖出去了。此时遥远的东方星系上，一颗包裹着梦幻水晶的顶级行政星上，一个美到极致的精灵优雅地坐在一冰晶王座之上，手里惬意地拿着一杯冒着蓝色星光的美酒，对着天空巨大虚拟屏上向他汇报的手下问道：如果西月在的话，一定会发现屏幕里那个手下居然就是刚才那个一脸腼腆的小花灵。此时那花灵换了装束，与之前虽然是一张脸，但气势截然不同，隔着屏幕就能感觉到对方那大宗匠的气势，一双星光之瞳仿若隔着亿万星辰，依旧能透视到这里，显然是少有的不朽生命才能拥的威势。冰领主就在刚才消出去了。女花灵微微笑道：对方背景没问题吧？被称为领主的精灵眯着那一双星瞳问道：没有问题。女花灵郑重道：埃尔迪亚家族的一个小领主，运气好一点找到了一颗有能源矿的8级星球，这种势力，宇宙每天都会消失无数个，不会有人注意的。确定是他本人吗？确定。花灵点头道：在我面前，哪怕是星级的异形者，也不可能完美的伪装成一个才5级的领主。那便好。精灵领主满意的点了点头。这批货销了之后，便将所有痕迹抹掉，可别让苍月那贱人找到借口。咱们市里可从来没做深渊的实验。提到苍月，那花灵的脸上闪过一丝惧色，连连点头：是，咱们和深渊一点关系没有。老爷，买这么多串串的蛋，你用得完吗？熊猫人大宝跟在西月身后，好奇的问道。是多了点哈。西月扣了扣头盔，10万多颗，自己得招多少玩家才能有10万个花灵？果然消费还是太冲动了啊！可是买10万个打5折啊，一算下来才50块一个，这么一想还是挺划算的嘛。可你回去之后不要动不动就串的。大宝，可我们那里田园犬就是串呀。那是你们那里。西月瞪了这不上道的憨熊猫一眼后道：这可是艾莎那领主主正星上面的田园犬，那种特级星球里一般生物拉的屎都是高级能量原料，人家本地人叫串叫田园犬，你个外星人能跟着这么叫吗？那叫什么？大宝憨厚的摸着自己肥脑袋的问道。这个本领主把名字已经想好了，就叫吞星犬，不许反驳，以后就这么叫，听到没有？大宝，好的老爷。西月满意点头，这家伙虽然憨了点，但看起来还是很听话的。老爷，我们现在去哪里啊？去买机甲。西月随口回道，但突然觉得有些不对劲，转过头来仔细打量了一下大宝，有些愣愣道：这才走几步路，你怎么满头大汗的？大宝，累啊，我们熊猫人都这样，一般我们赶路其实都用滚的，但这里不能滚，万一不小心砸坏了某个商铺摆在外面的东西，老爷您把我卖了也赔不起不是？有道理。不对。西月摇了摇头，这不是重点，你可是个铁匠，才走这么几步就气喘吁吁的，你平时打铁够体力吗？不够呀。大宝老实道，所以大宝我5天只能打1把精品剑，5天1把。西月闻言差点没把舌头给咬到，顿时感觉不妙，连忙问道：呵，那地精说你是掌握纯正青铜手艺的？是啊。大宝憨憨道：老爷没看到吗？大宝，我能催动丹火呀，是纯正的青铜族符文打铁手艺。可5天只有1把精品剑，那你打造品阶武器要花多久呀？大宝愣了愣，哦，那可能要按年算了。噗！西月差点一口老血喷出，勉强压下后压低声音嘶哑道：你们这样山寨也敢吼500万？大宝好奇的扣了扣脑袋，大宝是熊猫人呀，本来就是山寨的呀，老爷不会觉得500万就能买一个纯正没问题的青铜族铁匠吧？ 说着憨憨的表情瞳孔放大，一脸这老爷不会是傻的吧这种表情。西月被一个熊猫人用这种眼神看的，自己是不是天神族10里头一个？该死！他早该想到的，在地精手里怎么可能讨得了那么好的买卖？现在怎么办？回去如何解释才能不被智能鄙视？说自己花了1000万买了一堆土狗蛋和一只5天才能打一把武器的憨熊猫，自己一定会被智能践踏的吧？尊敬的领主，您预约的机甲式导师已经到位，请尽快通过网络参与会面。友情提示：良好的准时习惯会让求职者更加信任您的品质。是今天下午吗？西月微微皱眉，感觉有点乱，自己要不要再多买个智能？基地里现在发展迅速，自然是离不开智能维持的。而自己身在联邦中心，为了不暴露位置，自然也不敢连通自己基地的网络，这是常识。别说领主，一般在星球打工的打工仔，准假回家时一般都是禁止连通本星网络的，就是怕暴露星球位置。黑森林法则一直都是宇宙各大势力的基本法则，哪怕是大领主，除了已经隐藏不了的主政星和贸易星外，大部分的生命星系以及矿产星都是严格保密的。毕竟一个势力，大一点的势力，一般恐怕要跨越几十亿光年。一旦一些星球暴露，被敌对势力知道了，把你那颗星球灭了，你的援军可能都还没来得及到。可好一点的智能很贵啊，自己第一个智能是联邦鼓励天神族外游额外赠送的，真花钱好一点的智能都是10亿起。自己现在基地正是花钱的时候，为了随身带个日程管家就买一个智能，那太过奢侈了。叹了口气后，西月看了看人才网提示的会面时间，知道现在想回酒店也来不及了，只能带着大宝随便找了一家小吃店坐好后，便链接网络传了过去。但几小时后，他就会发现，在这么昂贵的自由贸易星上，把一个熊猫人放在一个小吃店，会是一件多么愚蠢的事！你特么的是不是在逗我？西月隔着会面室，望着里面那一脸严肃的洛萨一族的老人，有点想把旁边那笑眯眯的猎头脑袋捏爆。那老头看脸色就知道细胞老化已经非常严重了，按照他那生命体的等级来看，最多也就100年好活，而且还没了左手和左脚，这种一看就快死了的老残废，特么的要100万年薪。你们真当本领主人傻钱多吗？洛萨一族盛产机甲士，是宇宙中除刀锋一族和巨灵一族外最强的机甲士大族，而且洛萨一族在对外工作的口碑上还要优于另外2族，光从种族血统来说，对方应该是非常受欢迎的。但也要分人呐，这种明显是打算来养老混死的老家伙，还缺胳膊少腿的，100万年薪，他真敢开口要？猎头显得有些尴尬，但还是彬彬有礼的回道：尊敬的领主大人，这个人的缺点呢，确实很明显，老了，剩的时间不多，没有上升潜力空间，入职前还需要领主大人自费给他装一个海克斯科技手臂。什么？他还要海克斯科技手臂？西月顿时气笑了，他还要不要个星空精灵给他暖床？开什么玩笑？能给他装一个机械手臂已经是仁至义尽了，海克斯科技手臂那玩意最便宜的也得上百万起，这老家伙是不是疯了？可猎头轻咳一声，小声回道：的确要求高了点，但其实并不是不值这个价。哦，西月眯了眯眼，倒没有继续冷声讽刺，对方是大网站的专业猎头，既然这么说了，肯定是有其原因的，于是安静的等待着对方的下文。猎头见对方居然瞬间就冷静了下来，心中暗自点头，这家伙虽是个新手，但领主应有的气度倒是不差。想着，他拿出了一份那老头的详细资料，递给西月，缓声道：这人叫罗伯·凯尔斯丁·洛萨，是前第3领主韩爵手底下死亡之翼军团里的机甲士，听说还是个小队长。死亡之翼？西月头盔下神情满是愕然，这个机甲队伍他是听说过的，是韩爵领主手下的王牌机甲军团。虽然韩爵领主以泰坦军团闻名于世，但好歹也是联邦最强领主之一，手底下的最强机甲军团自然也不是一般大领主可以比的。可韩爵虽然牛逼，但已经被灭了几十万年了，死亡之翼不早被那一位歼灭了吗？西月提出了自己的疑惑。当然不是主力部队了，猎头笑着解释道，是驻扎在某个分星系上的机甲兵小队长。你也知道，像韩爵领主那样大的势力，即便覆灭了，那也是百足之虫，死而不僵，光是他手底下那些星域也够得慢慢征讨的。那也是。西月点了点头，但随即就反应过来，你说这是韩爵余孽？你疯了？这种人都敢推荐给我？西月吓得连本领主都没敢说，如今联邦里风头最盛的便是那个新晋的第3领主苍月了，联邦公认的战神，他讨伐的余孽，你特么谁敢收？这猎头是不是想不开了？活着难道不好吗？当然不是你想的那样。猎头苦笑着解释道，开玩笑，虽然他们这个人才网是第1领主旗下的产业，可也只是旗下，哪里敢去得罪如今风头正盛的战神？这人已经在苍月领主手下服刑14000年，现今已是自由自身，刚出狱没多久，所以才会是你现在看到的这样。原来如此，这么说的话，从履历来讲，这个人的要价还真不算高。不过这种类型想要找到工作其实很难，就像地星球的程序员，过了一定年龄，如果失业，想要再找工作就变得很麻烦，因为价格降不下来，而它本身的性价比对于很多老板来说又不是那么好，没有提升性，只有100年寿命。正常领主都有成熟的机甲培养系统，并不需要一个履历看起来那么漂亮的外人介入，还有着诸多缺点。而且对于新手领主来讲，大多也承担不起这个年薪，即便承担得起，也会显得很浪费。 因为新开发的土著民用这么好的导师确实听起来过于奢侈。但西月却不一样，他手底下那些都是潜力无限的金伯伯，花多少钱在教育上都不过分。综合来看，他突然发现这个断手断脚的老头还挺适合自己的。如果您觉得不合适，我们还有其他推荐。猎头赶紧拿出了另外2份资料，这是之前通知西月过来时预定的2个机甲导师，一个是名校毕业，但因为有些劣迹被一个大势力公开开除的佛罗米亚人，一个学历低一些，2本机甲学院毕业，拥有多年执教经验，但因为有些混日子，多年一直没有提升职称，而被原本聘请他的势力劝退。说实话，如果没有现在这个例子，这2个人应该就是西月这个势力能聘最好的机甲导师了吧？这2人心中倒还对自己有点逼数，价格都要得到不贵，年薪20万，对于这一行已经算非常廉价的了。不过什么东西都怕比较，这有珠玉在前，后面这2坨烂翔西月是怎么看怎么不顺眼。终于他叹了口气，将2份资料放在一旁，向那个断手断脚的老人家所在的会面室走去。后面的猎头见状眼睛一亮，赶紧跟上。他心里其实也希望促成这一张单子的，猎头中介费都是根据年薪1半来提成，5万和50万他愿意赚哪边，这不是显而易见的。西月走进了会面室，里面的老头子慢慢站起身来，行了一个联邦常规的军礼，态度不卑不亢，既没有因为自己曾经在顶级势力待过而轻视一个新手领主，也没有因为一份高薪而显得过于卑微。这气势西月只在家族里一些老人身上看到过，眼中闪过一丝尊敬之色。韩爵势力倒塌后，消息第一时间散播全宇宙，大部分人都在确认消息后声明退出了韩爵势力，毕竟老大都倒台了，也不存在违约或者不忠的问题。但能继续坚守那领主留下来的土地的这些人，绝对是值得尊重的。这也是为什么嗜杀成性的苍月都没有选择赶尽杀绝，而是将这些老兵打败后进行招揽。资料上说，这位老人并不愿意屈服于曾经领主的敌人，所以才被判了14000年的刑期。总的来说，是条好汉呀。面对这种人，西月没打算说一些虚的，而是直截了当的问道：“你的需求上要求海克斯机械臂的手术移植，而且声明是必要条件，能问问原因吗？”原因？那老人咧嘴一笑：“当然是因为想活啊。”西月闻言点了点头，随即对着对方道：“本领主愿意接受你提出的需求，你可愿意接受这次聘用？”哎，就这么成了？后面跟过来的猎头一愣，感觉有些不可思议，这都不杀价什么的。老头自然是欣然点头，2人很愉快的就在猎头见证下签订了协议。直到西月和那个老机甲师下线之后，那负责签约的猎头依旧感觉有些过于顺利了。一旁帮着他收东西的同事看到他这模样笑了笑：“怎么，签了个大单子还这么一副表情？”我不太理解。那年轻的猎头不好意思的摸了摸头笑道：“为什么那个领主会问这么个问题？”而听到那种答复之后就果断签约了，感觉这一单成的有些莫名其妙。旁边明显是老人的同事闻言笑着摇头道：“对于我们这种销售而言，没有任何一个单子会是莫名其妙而成的。今天这一单子看似顺利，那是因为我们匹配的足够好。你仔细看看那领主的资料，作为一个新人领主，拿得出10亿保证金，交易流水短短几日已经快过50亿了。这证明什么？证明这个领主不仅有钱，而且愿意在初期建设上砸钱。也只有这样的领主才最有可能选择刚才那老装甲师。那问海克斯又是什么原因呢？”新人好奇道。老同事白了他一眼：“这就是你专业课不扎实了赛。我问你，海克斯的一支比起其他机械移植机械产品优势在哪里？”新人一愣，小心翼翼道：“低感染、高保值、无缝神经链接。你说的这些好一点的机械产品都能办到，但为什么价格都不如海克斯机械的1/10？”新人下意识道：“那当然是因为它的进化能力额。”说到这里，新人一愣，好像想到了什么。旁边老同事见状笑道：“想到了吧？就是进化能力。普通机械手臂一旦装在那个位置的神经便无法继续锻炼了，终其一生都会定格。差一点的产品甚至还会感染金属毒素，让神经退化。但海克斯不一样，高仿的拟人技术让装在海克斯的人依旧可以继续锻炼，继续提升自己。他都那种情况了，还想进一步？”新人顿时有些不可思议，这便是那领主最终决定雇佣他的原因。老人脸色转为严肃道：“没人会喜欢一个放弃未来、混吃等死的员工。那老者只有100年寿命，但依旧想继续前行，再搏一搏。也许在你看来，机会可以说微乎其微，但这样的心，想要追求进化、活得更久的心，便是那领主最终下决心雇佣他的原因。”顿了一下，又道：“这也是为什么我刻意要你提到对方海克斯要求的原因。作为猎头，把握领主和求职者的心理需求是基本功，也是促成成功的最大砝码。你能在交易成功后第一时间去在乎交易成功的原因，而不是单单去想着这次提成我很欣慰，继续努力。新人，你会成为一个优秀猎头的。”新人闻言脸色一震，一脸尊重行礼道：“谢前辈指教。对了，将这个领主的潜力等级提升至 B 级，提供更好的人才渠道。这个人不仅运气好，在决断和表现上也符合一个优秀领主特点，只要不出意外，应该是一个长期合作的金主。由你继续跟进他的情况。”“是，前辈。”“这是什么情况？”刚刚被猎头夸赞的西月下线后，一脸懵逼的看着桌上堆积餐盘，还有旁边大宝不好意思的腼腆笑容。西月心中顿时升起一丝不妙的感觉。“你好，客官，一共408671天神币， 请问您是刷卡还是现金？如果是网络支付的话，本店只接受联邦云支付，像什么蚂蚁金融、企鹅超信概不受理。40万。西月被这价格吓得差点咬到了舌头。是的，店员笑眯眯道：“您的熊猫人点的都是本店的精品菜，食材取自各个高等星系的上等食材，最高包括5级星兽的肉材和4级的稀有果蔬。无论食材出处还是品质，本店都有联邦官方鉴定，对应食材本店也有联邦市场行情价，而且菜单上明码标价，绝不是在坑您。”西月噎了一下，人家说的那么专业，滴水不漏，他一点反驳的话都说不出，随即恶狠狠地看向大宝：“你特么倒真敢点呀！确实太好吃了。”大宝不好意思地笑了笑，本来只想点一盘尝尝鲜的，没想到一下就停不下来了。不好意思啊，领主大人，这些钱后面从俺工资里面扣吧。工资？西月悠悠地望着他，谁跟你说你有工资的？领主大人，俺可是清白之身，不是奴隶。你这样我可以投诉你的。大宝连忙道：“这尼玛，这种奇葩是怎么活到现在的？哎呀，脑壳疼。”这位领主大人看着面生，平时没怎么见到过，想必是新晋的领主大人吧。就在西月无语之时，那老板突然笑眯眯地弯着腰问道。西月一愣，随即望了过去，仔细一看才发现这老板看起来胖胖的，却带着2根类似鱼类的肉胡须，这才反应过来，这店家居然还是个恶魔种，而且是靠近深渊的塔姆一族。这一族名声可不怎么好，在他们眼里，似乎什么东西都可以做成食材的，甚至包括智慧生命。想到此，西月望着盘子里的残肢，顿时升起一股不舒服的恶心之感。店长见西月将目光看向那些餐盘，顿时笑着解释道：“客官放心，咱们可是正经的餐饮店，能在普罗西纳星上营业的，是不会走那些歪门邪道的手艺的。”西月沉默没有说话。你们这个种族就是歪门邪道。尊敬的领主大人面对西月的冷淡，店长不以为意，笑眯眯道：“谈个生意怎么样？作为诚意，这顿饭的单笔人做主就给您免了。没兴趣，把刷卡器拿来。”西月直截了当的回道：“和地精生意谈生意，顶多被坑点钱；和恶魔谈生意，很多时候命都会被坑没了。不要拒绝的那么干脆吗？”店长依旧眯着眼笑道，一脸和善。但与刚才不同的是，这店主原本平平无奇的气场却突然陡变，一股极为恐怖的威压让周围空间都为之抑制。西月甚至感觉那一秒连正常呼吸都做不到。我们只是想培养一点新鲜食材，如果领主大人您愿意在您新建的势力里为我们划分一个养殖场，每年固定为我们提供食材，只要食材供应稳定，我们每年将会给予您21天神币的丰厚回报，而且初期建设的钱全由我们负责，您看怎么样？15级的恶魔塔姆，而且一开口就是1年20亿的大生意。西月头盔之下一双紫瞳闪烁不定，暗道这果然不是什么正经小吃店，自己爷爷龙爵也不过是个15级的生命体，却已经是一个大家族的顶梁柱，一个大领主手底下的星际司令，这种级别的人物来看餐饮店，想想也觉得里面有大问题。说是什么食材，西月100%肯定是让他养什么违禁生物，一旦答应，虽然或许能获得短期的暴利，可今后就免不了受制于人，一旦被联邦发现，自己可真就完了。他如今发展势头正好，拥有一批潜力如此非凡的原住民，怎么可能会去走这条不归路？想到此，西月冷笑一声，俨然不惧地正视着对方，冷声道：“怎么，本领主不做这个生意，是不是今天就走不出这个门了？”那店长闻言眯着的眼中闪过一丝凶光，但到底还是没敢丧心病狂的在这种地盘公然击杀一个天神领主。对峙几秒后，气势一收，笑道：“大人言重了。”哼！西月冷哼一声，不给对方丝毫机会，直接道：“那便结账吧。”店长笑容僵了一下，但最终没说什么，对身后一个下手使了个眼色，对方点了点头，赶紧从后面拿过一个刷卡器。待西月和大宝离开之后，店长阴恻恻地望着2人的背影，眼神闪烁，不知道在想些什么。老大，为什么那么执着与这个新人？这小子一看就不是和咱们一路的吧？手下好奇地问道。万事不要看表面。店长冷笑道：“我闻到了，这小子身上有虚空的味道，倒是胆子肥，连虚空的生意都敢做。既然这样，肯定也不会嫌弃咱们的生意。你去查查，这小子什么来头？”好。手下人刚一应声，突然的一道悠悠的声音突然传来：“想查什么？”听到这声音的店长瞬间一惊，这个距离有人靠这么近了，他一个半只脚跨入龙级的恶魔，居然完全没反应，什么来头？连忙转过头去，看到的却是一张极为美丽的脸，还有那沁人心脾的花香味道。花灵。店长吞了口唾沫，脸色显得有些呆滞。如果是个刺客、阴影者之类的职业还好说，一个花灵都能做到这一步，那只能说彼此之间完全存在着次元的差距。前辈误会，今天怕是踢到铁板了。那小子背后势力不简单呐。第一批精灵成功化形是在领主外出的第2个火星日，从傍晚开始，精灵训练基地就开始出现鬼哭狼嚎的声音，声音之凄厉，只把隔壁战士训练基地里锻炼肌肉的绿泰坦都吸引了过来，围在外面议论纷纷。玩家甲，这叫的比我家发情的猫还要凄惨，里面的人到底经历了什么呀？好想进去看看呀。玩家乙，就是啊，我发情的时候都没叫得这么惨过。众玩家，总教官居然也难得的来凑了波热闹，摸着下巴道：“我听说精灵化形是一个非常痛苦的过程， 其痛苦程度和女人生孩子差不了多少。众人闻言顿时悚然一惊，真的假的啊？玩个游戏转个职还要经历一次生孩子的痛，这游戏还真是皮啊！有脚气的小仙女，我去，幸亏老娘没选精灵，要不然那种痛还得经历第2次。旁边原本依附在他身边的一副小鸟依人的泰坦突然一愣，脸色僵硬道：“你有孩子了？”小仙女，哎呀，卡了，我刚才说了什么？生孩子有这么痛？此时绿泰坦群中有一个挺着个大肚子的娇小紫色皮肤的女人，抚摸着自己的肚子，眼中带着一丝不安。人这么多，你跟着出来干什么？教官顿时紧张起来，连忙用自己庞大的身躯护着她。那紫皮肤的女人正是总教官赞达的妻子，是一个维米尔星族泰坦一族的分支。感受丈夫的紧张，女人微微一笑，但还是故意白了他一眼道：“基地太闷了，到处一股汗味，出来透透气嘛。”透个屁啊！外面氧气都没有，透个哪门子气？赶紧回去！赞达没好气道：“给你在维斯塔纳租房子，叫你在那儿休养，你不愿意，非要跟着我来这里。那里的5级空气质量不比这里好，那可不行。”女人望了一眼不远处的小仙女道：“这里的小年轻多得很，万一你做出些对不起我的事怎么办？”周围绿泰坦听到顿时一片余声。教官顿觉面子挂不住，强硬道：“那又怎么样？男人在外面那么辛苦，偶尔出一下轨也是情有可原的。”众多男同胞纷纷点头。女人闻言冷笑一声：“那女人生孩子那么辛苦，你就不要在意孩子是谁的了好吗？”赞达：“就是。”女同胞顿时起哄，这边以自古雌雄大义问题上展开了激烈的争辩，而精灵这一边却是一起抱团取暖、互相安慰的祥和气氛。妈呀，真的有这么痛的呀？我还没生过孩子哇！其中一个女精灵听着产房壳不对，化形室里的声音，整个球体都变得苍白起来。没事，旁边男友安慰道：“没事，你们反正以后要经历，现在经历一回，以后或许就没那么痛了。我们才惨，原本不用经历的。”众多精灵男同胞顿时齐齐默哀，打个游戏而已，还要他们堂堂男子汉经历这种痛，这策划是魔鬼吗？出来了！就在气氛压抑之时，化形室大门打开，从里面走出了几个化形成功的精灵。此时他们身上还带着不知名的粘液，披着简陋的布巾，一脸苍白，看起来无比虚弱，真的就像刚生过一样。但所有精灵在那一瞬间就看呆了，这化形出来的几个，无论男女，都俊美的让人呛息，连导师威灵也一脸不可置信。他们星空精灵一向在宇宙中以美貌著称，可如今一对比，他自己都感觉有些自惭形秽。木精灵有这么好看的吗？妈耶，郭强那个批样样都能化形成这种样子，这游戏的美工团队真是鬼斧神工啊！周围人连连点头。精灵玩家平时没有绿泰坦那么忙，特别是这段化形期，彼此互相都很熟。由于个个都一副毛球的模样，所以平时经常会彼此晒照片，也各自期待化形之后自己的模样。现今绿泰坦虽然长相魁梧，可都能从中看得到本人现实中的一些轮廓，这也是很多绿泰坦迷恋这款游戏的原因。原本现实中一脸肾虚的模样，到了游戏里稍加改造，也能如此威武霸气，让他们如何不热衷？让一众毛球模样的精灵玩家很是羡慕。如今好不容易要脱离毛球形象了，众人又隐隐担心，不知道自己会变成一个什么模样。导师给的模型很好看，抠脚肥宅，心中却还是紧张，有种即将要原形毕露的不安感。直到此时，里面第一批化形成功的玩家走出来后，众人惊艳之后，第一个想法就是：老子老娘是不是也能这么好看？突然觉得痛一痛好像也不是什么大不了的事啊。此时出来的那一批人望着众人那呆滞的眼神，顿时一阵不安，微微后退道：“你们怎么了？”特别是几个男的，总感觉屁屁一凉，对面那些人的眼神不太对劲呀。好了，威灵缓过神来，拍了拍手道：“赶紧去楼上洗澡换身衣服，请节约用水。现今基地用水量大，你们身上的粘液营养价值极高，有美白肌肤、增强免疫力的作用，其实可以互相舔干净，不要浪费了。衣服领主大人都为你们准备好了，买的都是可伸缩纤维材料，不用担心自己会穿不上。互相舔干净。”几个刚化形的玩家顿时一懵，几个女孩子脸色也顿时羞红。后面导师说的那些，他们一句都没听进去，只感觉这游戏尺度好大啊，不知道现在严打的吗？结果互相偷瞄了一眼，刚才在里面光线昏暗，互相看不清楚。此时互看一眼后，顿时一下都愣住了。我擦，好美的小姐姐，好帅的欧巴！可请玩家们注意，本游戏响应联邦号召，拒绝低俗，弘扬网络正能量。为了净化网络环境，更好的传播社会正能量，刚才导师所说的内容，请你们自行屏蔽。所有化形者，请在指示下依次到3楼洗浴室清理身体，不得故意漏点，否则惩罚强制下线3天，严重者封号处理。众玩家，妈耶，这到底是什么情况？一名化完形的精灵玩家对着镜子整整照了1个下午，依旧没能从自己那副美貌中清醒过来。关键是镜子中那人美则美也，但又不是彻底改头换面，依稀有着自己现实中的轮廓，仿若经过最为精细的调整后，将自己隐藏的美貌彻底展现了一般。所有化形玩家在看到自己样子后，都冒出了同一个想法：老子老娘原来可以这么好看的呀！果然，现实世界那些庸俗的化妆技术耽搁了老子老娘的美貌， 让我一直在凡尘中挣扎了多年，还是这个游戏世界的美工懂我啊？我说，你们打算就这样照多久呀？导师一脸无力地望着那些在镜子面前坐了一下午的玩家，其中一名玩家捧着自己一张如花似玉的肥脸道：“导师，请不要理我们，我们被蒙蔽太久了，直到今天才发现真正的自己，就让我们再多看一会吧，要不等会回去又要面对那虚假的世界了。”导师无语，挨疯了吧这群孩子！但愿领主回来之前能恢复正常吧。威灵无力地捂了捂脑袋，缓缓地走出房间，打开了记录表，填写关于这一批化形玩家的资料。第一批化形玩家总共有34个，其中行者占20个，行者中大部分精灵能量都偏向上肢骨，一共占11个，集中精神力的行者占6个，而下肢骨的精灵只有4个。看到这个数据，威灵稍稍有些担心起来。前2天领主大人明确表示想培养一批游侠，可现今情况来看，数据很不乐观呀。下肢骨的行者适合往游侠方面发展，但又不是一定能成为游侠，一切还要等专业的游侠大师进行各方面的测试，包括身体属性的表现力以及锻炼后的成长能力，而且心理能力也占据一部分。这一刷下来，很有可能这第一批精灵里一个游侠也没有。自己第一个任务如果是这种结果，也不知道会不会丢饭碗呀。威灵表示很担心，他其实很满意现在的工作的，在基地里地位不错，手底下管着几千个精灵。那个总教官看到自己都会礼貌地打声招呼，精灵资质高，可发展前景强，现金工资也不低。要是丢了他，可没信心再找一份这么好的工作了呀。剩下14个玩家化形者都是飞行者的精怪类型，其中蜂妖有3个，花灵占6个，石灵和木灵各一个，德鲁伊2个，还有一个守望者，倒是比较均衡。由于都沉醉于自己的美貌，不愿动弹的他们，现在很不配合基础测试，让威灵很是烦恼。不过这一点倒不慌，他观察了一下蜂妖的羽毛的色泽，非常健康，毛色虽不艳丽，却光芒内敛，显然品质极高。虽然还没测试，但以他的眼光来看，这些才2级的化形生命，个个都有近乎3级的品质。得到这个想法后，威灵意识到这些精灵容纳力可能不止20%，感觉上似乎和自己家族里那些嫡系骄子差不多的样子。这应该只是感觉上吧，自己家里那些可是宇宙顶尖的贵族，应该是错觉吧。威灵心中安慰着自己道。另一边，西月如愿以偿的招聘到了想要人，除了那个断手断脚的老机甲师外，他还招到了一个游侠大师。不过这游侠并不是传统的行者精灵，而是一个蜂妖。蜂妖类型的游侠很少见，因为一般情况下游侠都是用弓箭的，但蜂妖由于大部分肌肉会分布在后背翅膀上，导致自己的臂展以及拉伸力会很弱，基本不可能训练得出一手好的弓术。但也不是没有替代方法，蜂妖类型的游侠主要会利用自己锋利如刀锋一样的羽毛做暗器，训练重点则是自己手腕的投掷能力。比起传统弓箭游侠，蜂妖会灵敏许多。当然，这类游侠也有缺点，就是射程很一般，同级别下他更需要拉近距离作战，相比传统游侠风险更高。不过西月倒不在乎，以自己基地那些子民的资质，自己今后肯定会是多线型发展，复合型的军团肯定会被单一类型的军团更具有战术多变性和竞争力。这一点，联邦战神苍月已经通过剿灭韩厥的战役证明了这一点。韩厥的泰坦军团独步天下，但依旧敌不过苍月手下战术多变的复合型军团，那打了近乎万年的战争，其中苍月殿下那大大小小的战役，如今都被编入了各大军事学院的课程列表里面，连他们天神学院的军事课也都主要拿这些战役为素材进行讲习。军团多样化如今已经联邦的大趋势，所以训练师的类型越多越好。而且这次援救任务，蜂妖类型的游侠或许作用并不比传统游侠作用差。除了游侠大师，他还招募到了一个阴影者训练官和德鲁伊训练官，各自谈好的价格都是年薪30万。后面几人的履历并没有老罗伯那么传奇，不过都还不错，没有什么劣迹，又都是家族子弟，而且各自也都有近1000年的执教经验。履历看似平凡，却也适合西月基地如今的情况。以他现在的势力，想要招募那种有名气的训练师，的确不太现实。剩下的就是些基础的东西了。九仙那边承诺的技术工人基本也到位了，一共150多个，都是工龄超过200的技术老练的工人，都是九仙以前通过征伐殖民得来的土著，每个人身上都有联邦官方的奴隶契约，转让给西月后，西月也不担心背叛问题。而后西月还通过人才网招聘了一些生活职业的联邦民，其中包括黑铁矮人助理铁匠、生活系的裁缝师、厨师、木匠等必须的角色，大大小小招聘了100多个，都是愿意签订终身合同制的下等民，无不良记录，来历清白。对于这一点，西月也只能选择相信这个联邦第一人才的口碑了。机甲方面，在老罗伯的建议下，西月购买了一批性价比极高的基础版，10万一部，虽然不是名牌的，但射下性能各方面都不比一些带着商标的100万级产品差。买了之后，西月不禁感叹，果然还是要有专业的人士陪同买卖，才能买到物美价廉的商品呀。该有的东西配备都差不多了，自己回去后应该就可以着手计划建立第一个属于自己的城镇了。想起来还微微有些小激动呢。如今教育资源问题依旧是个大问题，不过他也没办法。根据人才网的工作人员所说，最近的一次招聘会是在2个月后。那趁着这2个月，自己正好先把病毒事件以及火星本身的隐患给处理掉吧。改造火星是目前西月要面临的第一个大工程。根据智能测试，这个星球自从磁场崩塌后，大量水分被吸进了外太空，还有一部分水分则是与岩石外壳产生了化学反应， 被锁在了火星表层。火星如今形成不了生命，绝大原因便来自于此。磁场崩塌，气候温差巨大，无法自然形成大气层，没有水分，自然也就很难形成生命体。此时首先要做的就是重新建立磁场，稳定火星的气压，而后释放岩石层里的水分，形成海洋。之后再人工操作气化大量二氧化碳出来，引导其在火星层外表形成大气。这样一来呢，就勉强适应普通生物生存了。这些操作可能在地球人听来很不可思议，但对于他这样的文明来说，真如吃饭喝水一般简单。当时在天神学院的时候，这种改造星球的课程对于一个天神来说是基本课，每过段时间导师就会带着他们去各种备用星球上进行改造。像那种条件恶劣的9级星球西月都不知道经历多少个了，眼前这个星球简直就是入门级别的。不过问题不在改造难度，而在如今的局势问题。毕竟隔壁还有一颗能给他星球送上无数核弹祝福的邻居呢。这么大改造动作，要完全隐瞒住这个邻居，那得好好策划一番，如何制造一场完美的空难，将那些卫星全部解决掉。智能说的对，这些事情必须借助玩家，自己一个人要实施这种计划不太现实。先看看吧，这些玩家在执行力上的素质。想到此，西月来到基地中心，询问智能这段时间的进度。智能，绿泰坦那边的人选基本已经定好了，一共15名，分别是武器系综合成绩前10的玩家和狂暴系综合实力前5的玩家。精灵那边刚刚开始化形，根据本智能和玩家与女无瓜对本次计划的推演，最好的职业配对如下。说着，传送了一张职业配对图，其中5名狂暴系绿泰坦非常必要，因为这次救援计划很有可能遇到地星球排名很高的佣兵团。如今南非局势动荡，很多势力都打算在里面摸鱼，各大军火商生意更是做得飞起，极有可能会遇到重型武器。如果遇到迫不得已的情况下，需要一定爆发力来突破重武器或重火力圈，狂暴系专精的泰坦则是非常有必要的。武器系专精用于保证持续战斗力，狂暴系战士在狂化过后会进入虚弱期，这个时候需要重型战力的时候，武器专精的泰坦就需要顶上。西月看到这里疑惑道：与女无瓜的机甲力量不算在内吗？智能，不算在内，玩家与女无瓜只是1级生命体，这周经过训练后能否进阶2级都说不准。尽管符文天赋极佳，可以短时间勉强通过符文力量使用3级的精神力，但这种招式极具风险，机甲只是给予他一定自保能力，绝不能算在战术之内。西月闻言点了点头，又继续往下看。其他配置方面，建议配备游侠5名，用于侦测环境、警示动向、狙击敌人远程火力点。需求至少2级游侠，能预警到狙击枪的危险，并且能迅速找到狙击手的位置，以极快效率清除掉，主要负责保护队伍里脆弱生命体，重点为与女无瓜本人。看到这一点的时候，西月嘴角微微一扯，又继续看下去。前行者至少5名，用来在紧急情况下刺杀对方头目，达到引起混乱的效果。队伍里最好有一个石头灵或者一个木灵，关键时刻魔法力量或许能达到出奇制胜的效果，只用于奇袭，所以并不需要太多。标准配备为5个小队，每个小队配一个狂暴系专精的绿泰坦，2个武器专精，一个远程弓手，一个警戒游侠，一个前行者，一个开发者，石灵和木灵任意一个。任务计划首先分5路潜入南非如今5大瘟疫点，以研究中心菲利尔博士的名义发布解毒血清，并极力帮助当地记者报道瘟疫已控制的消息，消除恐慌，必要时歼灭一切用心险恶的佣兵团。而具体任务细表，与女无瓜则罗列了半个人高的纸质方案，看那模样，文字数量起码快有1个 G 了。西月望了望计划列表，不仅叹道：啧，所有开发者都这么优秀的吗？智能，当然不可能，任何种族个体之间都存在差异，优秀的种族里能诞生英雄，也能诞生废物。如今联邦公认最强战神的苍月，只不过是被虚空感染过的蓝月一族，而纵观蓝月一族的族史，有第2个这种人物吗？西月被一个智能这么教育，还真是一件神奇的事。其实西月甚至有时候都会怀疑，这个智能是不是有人假扮的，太过人性化了点吧？那精灵那边化形情况呢？能支持这次任务需求不？有点困难。智能回道：您回来之前一共化形了2批玩家，总共数量60个，其中阴影者只有2个，行者方面下肢骨强壮的只有5个，很难凑足足够多的刺客和游侠。西月皱了皱眉，蜂妖呢？蜂妖倒是不少，有近10多个。领主大人是想改变这次设定的职业列表吗？不，西月摇头道，依旧用你们那个。我这次回来带来一个蜂妖类型的游侠教官，他可以通过蜂妖训练出几个游侠来填补数量。蜂妖游侠？智能突然沉默了一下，随后声音温度陡然下降：领主大人，请你以后回基地第一时间将雇佣的人录入数据库，要不然本智能很可能会提供不了最新的数据分析。西月一愣，哦，不好意思，昨天回来太累，所以先睡了。不知为什么，他突然感觉这个智能实在生气吗？这应该是错觉吧？智能这种东西会生气，有点玄幻吧？可轻咳一声，西月将刚才那不切实际的想法抛之脑后，又继续道：至于刺客数量，如果阴影者不够，要不要考虑守望者？守望者？领主大人不会觉得那种职业只训练1周就能拿上场用吧？总得试试嘛。西月也觉得有些勉强。守望者掌握空间天赋，本是非常优秀的刺客苗子， 但这个职业前期掌握难度极高，一般精灵在化形后半年内能熟练掌握天赋的，就已经是资质极佳的了。在很多家族里，恐怕都会被重点培养。自己要求1周就能用的，确实有些过分为难。但不知为什么，西月总觉得这些玩家能给他不一样的惊喜呢。欢迎玩家辣条5毛1包回归星海。您是申请上工还是申请课程训练？辣条望了望自己所剩无多的积分，犹豫了一下，最终还是选择了先上工这一选项。和绿泰坦那边不一样，他们精灵目前的教育资源很充足，因为总共化形的精灵就那么几十个，只要积分够，除了导师正常休息时间，你想什么时候申请课程基本都有空位置。但缺点是，大部分精灵玩家在积分上都是弱势。和皮糙肉厚、成天能在外面搬砖的绿泰坦不一样，以前的精灵球每次上工最多4个工时，而后就要回基地补充水分，一天能上工的时间有限，再加上化形这段时间，大部分精灵为了早点化形，上工的精灵更少了，导致现在积分严重不足。辣条看了看上工的内容，最终选择了放牧。他化形的是蜂妖，化形之后不仅有了一双翅膀，而且视野也比以前宽广了很多。他有时候甚至能看清楚几公里外的细节，这种天赋让他们在放牧一块上拥有着独特的优势。心大点的玩家一次性甚至可以申请上百头星蜥或者黄牛，一点也不担心会走丢。这对他们蜂妖来说是一个狂赚积分的好机会。普通精灵一次性只能放牧10头左右，那些跑得快一点的行者最多也就敢申请30头，否则有时候很可能会顾不过来。只有他们蜂妖没这个顾忌，所以说能飞还是优势巨大。领主这次回来之后，基地改变很大。首先是以主基地为中心建立了一个很大磁场，磁场内的重力被调整到了火星重力的10倍，还更新了一大片绿植，主要是一种带紫光的小草，学术名叫银灰。虽然不知道一个紫色的草为什么学术名是完全不相干的颜色，但那不重要，好看就行了。如今基地可以说比起最开始有着翻天覆地的变化，以基地为中心已经铺开上万平方米的绿植，除了部分被规划为农田区外，大部分现在都是牧场区，用来养殖那些看起来跟大象差不多体型的肉产牲口。基地外面也再不是之前那光秃秃荒凉一片，有了绿植后，还新设了一个布房，一个大型的食堂，一个铁匠铺，规模都很大，也是如今他们精灵玩家新增上工渠道。你可以选择去食堂端盘子、洗盘子，也可以去布房帮忙做染色剂、渲染布料、裁剪布匹以及加工一些特殊材料。当然，你也可以选择去铁匠铺抡大锤。这些新的工种在积分上并没有太大优势，和以前照顾标本和在农场干活差不了太多，而且还会更费精力。但听智能说，虽然积分上没有优势，但却能学习到实用的生活技能。铁匠铺的那个胖熊猫，听说是一个精通符文打造技术的铁匠大师，在铁匠铺积分到达一定程度后，可以跟着学习符文锻造的技术。而那个布房也是一样，听说是请了一个裁缝大师，做满工时后可以学习到高端的裁缝技术，听说还能学到附魔技巧。至于食堂刷盘子的那个章鱼大妈，目前看来就真的只是个刷盘子的大妈而已。不过她8只手用来刷盘子，速度贼溜，也不知道后期会不会开发这种种族。至于他们些混农场种菜、放牧的之后工时满了会学到什么，他也有些期待策划后面的解释呢。哟，辣条，积分用完了？刚领了任务到农场的辣条迎面就撞上了一个熟人，正是一起化形那一批其中一个熟人，星号。辣条轻轻答了一声，便打算去领自己要放养的苜蓿，但刚往前走一步就被对方拦了一下。我说，这几天要想抢任务名额，还是得多把时间用在训练上。你积分不够的话，要不我匀一点给你。你积分很多吗？辣条微微皱眉，这人是他现实中一熟人，一个院子长大的，在现实中由于常年玩养成游戏，气质贼他妈猥琐，结果在游戏里经过精灵化形这么一改造，瞬间一下变得人模狗样的，自信心也跟着那张脸空前暴涨。以前在现实中遇到自己是半天憋不出一个屁来，现在居然没事就来聊自己，小子很膨胀啊。还好吧，供咱2这周训练应该问题不大。被鄙视的宅男谦虚道。哦，辣条稍稍一顿，暗道家底这么丰厚，也是宅男嘛，天天泡游戏里，家底能不厚吗？待老娘与他虚与委蛇一番。这个不会耽搁到你的进度吧？辣条一副善解人意的语气。不会，我积分多着呢。对方拍着胸脯笑道。看来家底不是一般的厚呀。辣条暗自想到，于是语气柔柔道：那麻烦哥哥您了。哎，咱们从小青梅竹马的关系，客气啥？善解人意脸上笑出了朵花，随即又道：妹子呀，你说咱们要不要去改个名啊？改名？为什么？你想呀，以前大家都是个球，叫辣条呀、豆腐脑呀都没啥问题，可现在咱们这神仙般的模样，再这么叫就有些掉档次了呀。哥哥说的有道理呢。辣条笑盈盈道，心中却暗道：你特么的是不是飘得忘了现实中自己长啥鸟样了？还不如跟辣条呢，居然还敢鄙视本姑娘的名字，那改什么呢？哥哥，我想了下，你如此美丽无瑕，就干脆叫霞怎么样？那哥哥你呢？妹子依旧笑脸如花道：是不是叫洛呀？哎呀，妹妹这个名字想得好呀，霞洛。霞洛听起来如此朗朗上口，好文采啊，就听妹妹你的，咱们霞洛组合一起努力选上这次任务怎么样？呵呵，咦，妹子可是在冷笑？哪有？辣条连忙冷笑话柔， 面如桃花的拍着手道：“妹妹是觉得哥哥注意甚好。”“哦，那就好，那就好。好你大爷，居然还想和老娘取情侣名，美的你！如今任务选秀在即，老娘姑请人你2天，等这几天过了之后，哼哼，老娘就让你见识一下什么叫提裤子不认人。”“什么？节操？开玩笑！游戏里那些抠脚大汉，为了在游戏里要点装备，不也开着变声器叫人家老公的吗？自己这个分明是正常操作，好不好？”然而他却没想到，出来混，大多时候并不是能如想象那般全身而退的。用手腕力量，我要说多少遍？不要用手臂，你们脑子是铁打的吗？拧都拧不转。训练场内，蜂妖教官一脸严厉地叮嘱着学生使用头阵技巧。一群容貌俊美的蜂妖此时苦瓜着脸，十分怀念原来教他们化形的老师，那个温柔啊，就像是砂糖和水做的人一般。再看这个，长得虽然也漂亮，但却如老妖婆般凶狠。绿泰坦玩家表示，那也能叫凶狠？咱们那个总教官叫不耐烦了，动不动就拿起我们当扫帚舞，一天少说3顿毒打，我们骄傲了吗？望着这一群一脸不情不愿的小家伙，但手上动作一次比一次进步大时，蜂妖教官虽然面色依旧严厉，但内心却是止不住的暗自惊讶。说实话，一开始听说是来教木精灵的时候，他内心是有些抗拒的。那血统容纳力低，导致种族天赋极差，教导起来会显得极为费力。都说名师出高徒，那也得看学生资质啊。给他投猪，让他教导成最优秀的猎狗，那再好的训练师也会头疼的。要不是这个领主给的工资高，而他又急需一份高薪职业，断然是不会选择这份差事的。但正式开始接触之后，他才发现这群木精灵和他以前遇到的似乎完全是2个品种。首先是品质，来的时候负责化形的导师给他送来了几个刚化形的蜂妖，但那个品质让他瞬间觉得对方是在开玩笑。那毛色和浑身肌肉形成的完美程度是刚化形的，说他们是大家族里经过半年营养调理和专业特训过后的蜂妖他都信。而且这些家伙的样貌是不是太好看了点？怎么感觉比星光精灵还好看？如果不是那琥珀色的瞳色，他完全不相信这几只蜂妖是木精灵转化的。后面开始训练后，这群家伙给他的惊吓更是一个接一个的。首先便是这几只蜂妖掌握飞行的时间。一般来说，像飞行者的化形精灵想要掌握自己异于常人的身体，要付出给多的精力。很多大家族的蜂妖想要掌握自己刚化形的身体，起码都要按月来算时间。但这群小崽子化形的第2天，居然就能在半空中歪歪斜斜的飞起来。第3天，整个基地里到处都是鸟毛和他们飞行的身影。自己当初化形时掌握飞行花了几个月来着。他可不是一般杂牌血脉，他叫希诺风行者，是大名鼎鼎的精灵游侠家族风行者的后裔。风行者家族注重培养行者，所以出生蜂妖的他并不是很受待见。但他当初就是不服气，还是选择了游侠这条道路。虽然没有化形成家族主流的形体，但他也是纯正的风行者血脉啊！联邦精灵一族顶尖大族之一的风行者，就算比第1贵族星空精灵也差不了多少。如今10大领主中排名第5的领主就是他们风行者家族的。这样的血脉诞生出来的蜂妖，虽不受家族待见，但品质不会差。可即便这样，他在有充足营养和专业导师的训练下，也花了足足3个月才掌握了飞行。而如今这群小崽子自己都还没怎么教，听说是几个伙同一路找了个牙，挨个往下跳，就很随意的飞起来了。当时在知道这事儿后，他一阵无语。这特么老鹰叫崽子飞行的野路子，你们也敢去学？还学成了？难道是我们精灵以前的方法太保守了吗？砰砰砰！突然的一连3道刀锋入靶子的声音将希诺的思绪拉了回来。他反应过来，只稍稍一听，便知道有人成功掌握着螺旋头阵的手法了。这便是他这2天被惊吓到的第2点。这些家伙的学习能力简直能用变态来形容，几乎好多技巧都是过一遍就会，稍微慢一点的，自己几次指正后就立刻掌握了诀窍，练起来行云流水。一般来说，血脉纯度越高，学东西的资质也就越好，这是精灵族的特性。可这资质也太好了吧！老师刚才扔镖的那个女蜂妖忐忑地低着头问道：“您看看有什么需要修正的吗？”希诺闻言稍微收了收思绪，走进了靶子，仔细看了看，力透3层，侧力指上螺旋的锋力还没完全消散，可见不管是手法还是风元素的掌控力，这一镖几乎已经是一个专业风妖游侠的手法了。螺旋镖已经算风妖游侠前期毕竟难掌握的一个技能了。首先要学会复杂螺旋手法，还要精巧地控制自己体内的风元素，帮助头阵出去的羽毛进行加速，到达快速旋转的效果。这对手法和自身风元素控制力都有着不小的要求。这其实原本都不是初期游侠该学的课程，但是看清楚靶子的情况后，希诺抿了抿嘴，顿时沉默了下来。一开始领主说要1周以内培养出一个能用的2级游侠时，他那一瞬间甚至觉得这个领主是不是疯了，要不就是没有常识。1周内将一个刚化形的蜂妖培养成专业的2级游侠，能将这种话说出口来，他这个天神毕业证是怎么拿到手的？可现在看来，似乎是他见识过于短浅了。这真的只是土著民转化的木精灵？不会是这个领主从什么隐秘木精灵家族里拐来的嫡系子弟吧？老师，那女孩小心翼翼地追问了一句。还算勉强吧。希诺心中震惊，但脸上却保持了应有的严肃，声音平淡。记住刚才的感觉，多多练习，尽量保证每次都能震出这种水平。好的，老师。 那女玩家一听自己过关了，顿时长松了一口气，一副终于搞定了的表情，看得希诺眼角一阵抽搐。那老师，我们后面学什么？不要好高骛远，先把手里的东西练熟再说。下课啊！可老师，我兑换的课时还有1个多小时呢，您可以再教我点东西，我后面一起练。希诺闻言严厉瞪了他一眼。哦，女玩家乖乖点头。听那边泰坦的玩家说，导师脾气都是很暴躁的，动不动就打人，还是别惹人家生气，万一被打了就划不来了。自己可没有群绿皮兽那样皮糙肉厚，这么好看的脸打破相就不好了。见对方老实后，希诺背着手转头，心中也是暗自松了口气，暗道感觉再这样下去，自己最多教到年底就没什么好教的了，到时候自己会不会失业啊？妈呀，突然感觉好慌啊！终于开始步入正轨了呀！西月不厌其烦地巡视着自己的基地，芬芳的草木清香和那阵阵牛屎味扑面而来，真是充满勃勃生机啊！不过后期还是要做好排污系统，这毕竟是往城市方面在发展。等火星人工大气制作成功后，自己就把牧场往外移。领主好，领主好！西月一路走过去，到处都能看到放牧的精灵，每遇到问好，他都一一点头回应。毕竟是不开工资的，态度要是再高傲了，就有些太不近人情了。放牧如今是基地的头等大事，毕竟后面几千泰坦后面嗷嗷待哺呢。光靠人工磁场稳定的牧场，只能在现在解一时燃眉之急，后期肯定跟不上需求的。改造火星大环境势必得赶紧提上日程呀！想到此，西月抬头看向了多功能训练场那个位置。多功能训练场是一个可以模拟场景、人物和各种事件的高级功能建筑，价格不菲，而且每启动一次消耗的能量也不算低。一个新手领主一般是不会在初期买这么高端的建筑的。西月当时也犹豫了很久，但最终还是狠了心买了一个。他不想耽搁自己子民的潜力，虽然工资上他暂时舍不得，可再穷不能穷教育师部。如今那里临时被征用，特地用来训练已经被拟定好任务人选的临时应变能力和配合能力，分别由各个武器系教官、战士总教官、游侠教官和阴影者教官合作训练。也正因为这样，这几天普通子民申请课程训练便被暂停关闭了。这样也好，自己这些子民这些天以来不是挖矿放牧，就是申请课程训练，一点不得空闲，实在太过辛苦了，看得自己都有些心疼。正好可以给他们放几天假，让他们可以专心挖矿放牧了。自己真是个仁慈的领主呀！西月如此想到。想到任务，比较关心任务成败的他，还是决定去多功能训练场去看一看进度。毕竟这次任务成败，直接决定是否进行下一次更加复杂的太空救援任务，有着非常重要的意义。即便不考虑下次任务，对于这次疫情，西月可比联邦各大国家的首脑更心焦。一路走进建筑里面，西月看到几个导师正根据学员的表现情况进行模拟训练。西月并没有打扰他们，而是在旁边默默看着。训练室被分成了6块，分别对应了这次拟定的6个小组。每个小组训练的内容大致相同，但也有些细微差别，主要是地形。由于6个小组后面会分开传送，分别对应6个瘟疫爆发点的地形进行了模拟训练。城市外其实大部分地形都一样，因为都是内陆地区，除了其中一个沿海的城市外，其他清一色的都是沙漠。但城市内部结构却很不一样。智能通过入侵卫星将6张城市图完全模拟到了多功能训练室，随即通过智能演算出任务可能遇到的各种场景遭遇战。几个导师呢，就分别教导自己学生如何面对各种情况，比如如何面对智能收录的各种地球武器。现今地球用的还是很原始的热武器，主要是利用推进燃料快速燃烧后产生的高压气体推进发射物的射击武器，纯唯物主义科技产品，不带其他任何神秘的复合能量。这样的武器其实挺好针对，单兵作战上，西月手底下这些2级生命体面对这些，其实比面对一些唯心主义文明更为有优势。冷静，深呼吸，不要慌乱。此时西月刚走进第1层，就听到总教官赞达那震耳的嗓音。说实话，听到这响雷一般的吼声，能不慌才是怪事呢。西月跟着声音走了过去，在后面暗暗窥探。此时赞达正在训练几个绿泰坦战士如何面对地球的常见热武器，几支小鸟枪而已，怕什么？你们那一身肉白长的吗？可是教官，您不是说咱们的肉体强度挡不住狙击枪的吗？一个学生弱弱问道。赞达闻言几乎下意识就一巴掌扇了过去，那个学员直接被打飞出去几米远，看得远处西月眼角一抽，但赞达扇了过后才反应来，对方好像问的没毛病呀。哎呀，抽习惯了呀，于是咳嗽一声缓声道，你说你问问题站那么近干嘛？可以后记得站远点。众学员，2级生命体的身体强度不是说完全防御不住狙击枪，只是说硬防防不住，而是要靠些技巧。说着他演示了一下，只见狙击枪的子弹快打到他的瞬间，赞达避开了要害，而后利用肌肉硬生生夹住了那颗子弹。众多学员看在眼里，顿时倒吸一口凉气，随即眼睛里满是星星。哇擦，肌肉夹子弹，除了日穿钢板，还有比这更爷们的事吗？这只是个示范。享受着学员崇拜的目光，赞达咧嘴笑道，但不是什么时候都要这么做。2级生命体的骨骼和肌肉强度理论上是可以防御住子弹的，但一定要掌握技巧。首先得避开要害，身体有些脆弱位置不能被打到，否则还是有可能会死亡，并且不能被密集扫射到同一个地方。最主要是肌肉的应变能力。肌肉应变能力，众学员顿时好奇。对， 应变能力。赞达严肃道：“首先是感知力，你的肌肉要学会判断什么样的力量能接得住，什么样的力量接不住，这一点非常重要。拿那个什么散弹枪为例子，近距离情况下，那种枪的力度威力可观。这个时候，如果你还采取绷紧式的防御，以应对应，就有可能会让你那被打中的部位直接粉碎。而这个时候，你要学会卸力，顺着子弹的冲击力进行伤害规避，哪怕顺势打飞出去，也比正面硬抗要好。当然，如果判断的好，在子弹正式发力之前，你便可以利用肌肉的活性将子弹甩出去。”说着，赞达又亲自演示了一番，让模拟式切换散弹枪打向他的左胸。而后只见他在子弹打到的瞬间侧步一避，表皮绷紧，但肉体却灵活利用小幅度抖动改变了子弹的位置。而后只是稍稍撤步后退了一下，那些子弹便换了个方向被甩飞了出去，看得一众学员目瞪口呆。还可以这样？这个怎么办到的？怎么办到的？赞达狞笑一声：“你们马上就知道了。”众玩家那一瞬间脸上兴奋一僵，望着这魔鬼教官的笑容，心中顿时咯噔一下，随即升起一股莫名的凉意。真是熟悉的战士教学啊！西月听着里面玩家鬼哭狼嚎的声音，眯着眼一脸怀恋，想起了小时候自己在家族的时候，教官训练自己时的场景。当然也没像现在这般丧心病狂，为了锻炼学生肌肉感知力，直接就让学生吃子弹的狙击枪汤姆逊 M4A1、AK47。为了让学生肌肉适应不同枪种的力度，赞达几乎让他们挨个尝了个遍，打的那群学生是皮开肉绽，鬼哭狼嚎的。一下午过去，几人身上几乎没有一块好肉，看得战士家族出生的西月都一阵心惊肉跳，暗道：不愧是竞技场混出来的老江湖，手黑的一逼呀！相比来说，其他几个训练师的导师手段就要温柔得多了，比如弓箭系导师教导如何判断狙击手的位置，如何最快反击；枪系专精和扩刀系专精的导师教导他们如何利用战技突破重火力网；狂暴系导师教导如何快速让装甲车、坦克之类的重型武器失去作战能力等等。虽然训练也显得很严厉，但绝对没有赞达教的那么血腥。但让西月更惊讶的是这些玩家的态度，他们嘴里虽然骂着这个游戏变态，但身体却在被老赞达折磨的体无完肤后，依旧能不断坚持。看到最后，那几个血肉模糊的汉子终于完成训练后大小相拥的场景，西月不仅暗叹，还真是一群可怕的土著民。所以他越发不解这次瘟疫事件的发生。根据智能分析各地情报得出结论，这次未知病毒疫情很明显有着人为的痕迹，背后势力更是繁杂，除了一些野心家外，还有庞大的军火商在暗地里推动，目的就是为了引起暴乱，好能更好的售卖自己的武器，从中谋取暴利。西月在看到报告后，很不能理解这些人的行为。在他看来，这个星球的人有如此潜力，要是能集中资源，专心发展科技，早就走出银河系了。根据智能调查，这个星球的科技自从第4次工业革命之后，一共停滞了整整300多年，发展极为缓慢。几十亿人整天就为了一个7级星球上本就不多的资源勾心斗角，不惜自毁长城。现在居然连病毒这种手段都搞出来了，在他看来，简直就是舍本逐末。外面无尽的星空，数不清的土地和资源，不去探索，不去挖掘，整天为了点蚂蚁大的利益，天天内斗，何苦来哉？典型就是没见过世面的小土著格局，也不知道这次能不能来得及阻止那些短视之人愚蠢手段。随即他暗中问着智能道：预计那边的局势还能撑多久？智能：多方面数据推算，恐怕只能撑10天左右，到时候极有可能发生病毒全面爆发的灾难。想要遏制这种情况发生，我们的任务小队最迟5天就要出发。5天？西月低吟了一下，随即问道：以目前的训练情况，5天来得及吗？会不会太勉强？智能：预计是没问题的，虽然训练的时间有些勉强，但他们好歹是2级的生命体，在生命等级上他们是绝对碾压优势的，只要计划够缜密，临时指挥发挥的顺畅，就算玩家们经验较差，能完成任务的可能性还是偏大的。西月闻言点了点头，随即抬头看向了地球方向。身为天神的他，虽然现在只是一个5级的生命体，但强大的天赋还是让他那双至尊紫色的星瞳能远远地观察到那颗蔚蓝色的星球。但愿那些饱受病毒折磨的人类能坚强一些，多撑段时间，能等得到来自自己这边的救援吧。哎，怎么了？西月一愣，智能竟然能发出这种疑惑字句。刚才好像有玩家动了传送器。哪个传送器？西月一愣，心中顿时升起一股不好的预感。准备用来传任务的那个。西月，什么？